morning and welcome to our 156th weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way today's call is going to work is it's an AMA, meaning ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, personal questions, career questions, anything that can humbly help you to either take your investment portfolio to the next level or your career to the next level. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to answer questions, and then I'm going to go and teach you about options from scratch. And what I'm going to show you is just a sneak peek at my complete options course that's coming out soon. And I don't want anybody to get intimidated by options because they're really easy if we learn it one step at a time. And the way I'm going to be teaching it in the course is I'm going to be teaching it one brick at a time, so to speak, so that it makes a lot more sense. And you have this incredible aha moment by the end of the course, and it's fun as well. Now, the way that I was taught options when I went to Columbia University, did my MBA in finance 8 million years ago, it was way too theoretical. And although I humbly got the top grade in my class, I didn't fully get it. And then I went to work in the hedge fund industry, and I kind of got it after a while, but it only sunk in once I used it from a practical perspective. So I'm going to teach you that. Okay, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek this morning from scratch. Any questions you have about options or anything, bring them my way, please. Now, before we get started with your questions, thank you. What I want to do is I want to show you how to access all questions I've ever answered. And I've actually done more than 10,000 questions and answers live here on YouTube, including this weekly webcast over the past 3 years and the many hours of live webcasts I've done with my MBA students. So if you want, what you can do is you can go to harounventures.com. That's my website. And at the top, you can ask me anything. Okay, so people have asked me every question you can think of. So type in the word SPAC, and this will tell you the difference between a SPAC and an IPO. If you type in NFT, I've answered questions on it. If you type in Bitcoin or any crypto, I've answered tons of questions on them over the years. And not only can you see my answers to your questions, but you can click here and see in my MBA Degree Program and other courses when I talk about certain topics. Okay, and if you've already signed up for the MBA program, what you can do is you can actually go there and click and get access to exactly where I talked about each topic within the MBA program, which is more than 300 hours. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll take questions and I'm going to go and show you a quick preview of my options course coming out soon. And again, please don't anybody get intimidated by this options stuff because I'm going to teach it one step at a time and it's going to be fun. And options it's a massive market, eh? So that's my Canadian A there, sorry. It comes out sometimes. As does sorry. But the global stock market cap, like if you take all the stocks in the world, it's about $90 trillion. But if you take derivatives, which includes options, the size of that market cap combined, so to speak, of all derivative and option products is 6 times bigger than that. And so it's massive. And so when you use options, it's defensive and offensive. You can protect your money like an insurance contract, or you can make money. I'll show you both examples briefly today. All right, most importantly, let's get to my questions here, or the questions here for my students. All right, first up, I've got Eric, who actually, you might not see this, he posted this last night. He said, hi, Chris. I was wondering if you could advise me on the best ways to deal with recruiters and headhunters. I get contacted by them a lot on LinkedIn, and indeed, I'm never sure how to respond. Yeah, it's a great question. So the first thing you should do is if you're going to meet with a headhunter, just do it at a coffee shop, not that close to your work, and just listen to what they have to say. And I think it's always good to have a plan B just in case, because what happens is companies tend to overhire and then they overfire. They cut into muscle, not just fat. And so it's always good to have that plan B. Now, when you meet with them, if they ask you in the first meeting, which is unlikely, but they might, what kind of compensation you're looking for, I want you to come up with a number that's 50 to 100% more than what you're making right now. And so that begs the question, What are you making right now, and how do you articulate that? Well, the way to articulate it is you tell them, truthfully, of course, what your all-in package is, meaning your base salary, your benefits, like if there's health care included, child care, and other things as well, 401k matching, etc. And you take that total amount, and that's your total compensation. And that's the number you can tell them you're interested in making much more based on. So you're looking for a 50 to 100% increase based on that. And obviously you have to be really, really careful with this stuff. Now, what I recommend you do is if they call you on your phone and it's a corporate phone, don't do the call on your corporate phone. Go home, do it from home. Or, and some people do this, if you have the budget, I don't, but some people have two of these things that look the same. One is the corporate one and the other one is the personal one, just in case. And I'll say and do anything to protect the careers of my students because I care. So take all headhunter meetings you get, but be discreet about it, of course. Yeah. All right. Next question I've got here is from Sonia, who wrote, "Hey, Chris, how's your week been going? What kept you excited this week?" My week is always great. Thank you. And I hope your week is going well as well. So what's kept me really excited this week is this new options course that I'm working on, which I'm going to show you in a second once I answer more questions. But let me give you a sneak peek of what it looks like right now. So there's a lot to it, and I break options down from scratch so that you can learn from scratch if you're a beginner, or you can do the genius track or the beginner and genius track, all tracks. And I teach you everything there is to know about options. We start off with the VIX. I teach about longs and shorts from scratch in case you're not sure what that means. That's an optional lecture. Then I teach you option basics, and then we price options and much, much more. And probably the most fun part of this entire course is the part where I teach you 35 different option strategies. So that's what's been keeping me busy this week, and very happy as well. For me, it's like, humbly, it's like a good book. When you finish a good book, you feel great, you accomplish something, you put it on your shelf if you still buy paper books, but you feel a little bit sad as well because it's over. Yeah. Okay, and the thing about my MBA program is I'm constantly adding new stuff. So this year I'm adding a lot of stuff about options. Next year I'm going to add a ton more stuff about real estate, negotiations, etc. And whatever the market asks for, I will add. And it'll always be up to date and with the intention of doing whatever I can to make my students successful. Next up, I've got one of my MBA students, Peyton. How are you? Peyton is in my MBA degree program this year. He's amazing. I actually had him on as a guest speaker last week. He inspires me. I learn a lot from my students. They're awesome. Now, Peyton is in surface warfare in the United States Navy, and he's very passionate about technology, NFTs, etc. And so he has this great website called gamereport.io. And if you go there, you can learn a lot more about how to make a fortune in the long run through this new concept called NFT blockchain gaming. Okay. So Peyton wrote here, and somebody asked about, later down, I skimmed it in the Q&A, I think it was John, about, can you tell me what the MBA is like, or somebody who's already taken the program? And so Peyton answered here, thank you, Peyton, you don't have to do this, I love you, brother. He said, your MBA course is literally changing my life. Thank you. My students changed my life. They inspire me. And then Peyton wrote, I have testimony after testimony being in your class. I've been truly blessed to meet with CEOs. I've gone from 100 subscribers on YouTube, he just started, to a couple thousand, and he made 200 or 300% on his crypto investments. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that, Peyton. I'm so blessed to have you as one of my students. And then Peyton went on to write, I will forever go to war for this man. Thank you. God bless you. Likewise. If you ever have any questions about him or any of his courses, feel free to message me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I will try to help the best I can. Thank you. God bless you, Peyton. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next up, I've got Jack Sparrow. That's from that movie, right? That Disney movie. Yeah. So Jack Sparrow, you wrote, hey, Chris, how can I go about investing in NFTs with very little money? I want to leverage it. Yeah. So I'm going to actually ask Peyton, one of my amazing students, to answer that question. Now, Peyton, if you're still on the call, let me know, and I'll bring you onto Zoom really quickly, and I'll get you to answer that question for Jack, if you want. Or what you can do, Jack, is you can go to my website, harounventures.com, and do a search on NFT, because I go over that in a lot of detail. Specifically, I go over how to do it when it comes to baseball cards with the wax cryptocurrency. I did a long segment on baseball card and sporting card NFTs and how to buy them. Okay. All right, next up, I've got Abel, who wrote here, good morning, Chris, good morning. I have an informational interview presentation today, and I'm thinking about starting my presentation with a Mark Twain quote. What do you think? Yeah. So I've got this, my favorite quote from Mark Twain, who is an American poet and writer and Renaissance man, is the two most important days in your life are number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause for a second so that I'll make this my thumbnail. That's what YouTubers do. And so I would start off with that quote in your informational meeting. And I would make it more personable, though. So when you first start the meeting, you want to chit-chat about what you have in common. You know, maybe it's a love of sports. Maybe you went to their Twitter profile and they follow a certain baseball team, etc. And then after you bond with them, always bond before business, then they're going to very politely say to you, why are we meeting? They'll very nicely say after about 10 minutes. Always happens. And then you can bring up that quote. And you can basically spin it by saying that you're extremely passionate about the sector that company is in, or that company itself, or that company's products. Okay, and so then what you do is you can then talk about why you want to work at that company, or what you're interested in business-wise, meaning working in that sector, etc. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any follow-up comments, let me know. Last thing I'll say quickly, and I've said this before, is before you meet anybody in business, whether it's an informational meeting or an interview or a sales meeting, go to their Twitter profile and see who they follow so you know what to spark up conversation-wise at the beginning of that meeting. And never jump right into business. Always bond before business. Thank you. Okay. All right, next up I've got... All right, so this is the dude that asked. Okay, so Jack Sparrow asked, has anybody on the chat who's taken the MBA program, can they share their experience with all of us here? I'd be grateful. Thanks. Thanks for asking. And anybody that's taken the MBA program, you can chime in positives and negatives if you want. Or what you can even do, Jack, is you can go to LinkedIn and just do a search on the many people that have taken my program and just ask them. Or go to my website. There's a lot of testimonials. Thank you. All right. And there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. You can learn more by going to this link here. Yeah. And actually, the cost is basically the cost for 1 hour at a traditional business school. Okay, let me go on to your questions. Thank you. Next up, I've got M. Andrews, who wrote, hey, Chris and everyone, Madeline in Atlanta. Great to see you, Madeline. I was recently in Atlanta. I was at the Coca-Cola factory. And the headquarters as well, which is a big component of my options course as well. I have a lot of props here from Coke. I'll show you. And so we're going to be pricing Coke options in the program. And just so you don't think I'm actually making this up, which is what I usually do when I answer questions, I'll show you up top here. So up here, my options course, that's a little Coca-Cola can, because that's what we're doing. We're going to be pricing Coke and Tesla and Apple and cryptos and anything you want to price. So thank you. Let me get back to your questions here. Great to have you, Madeline. Julian, hey, Julian, how are you? Julian is one of my MBA degree graduates. He graduated last year. He lives in Germany right now with his son, Martin. And he was on my webcast a couple of months ago, actually, talking about his company that he launched. He's from Bulgaria originally. I've got his product here, actually. Yeah. All right. So this here is the company that Julian started. It's called grizzyware.com. And Julian and his 14-year-old son, Martin, they made this product. And they're selling it on their Shopify store. You can go to grizzy-ware.com to learn more. That's GRIZZY-WARE.com. zzy-ware.com. Great to have you, Julian. And Julian, I remember last year in the program, you asked a lot of questions about options, and I told you an options course is coming. I'm making it for you and everybody as well, and I hope you enjoy it, brother. So Julian wrote, hey, Chris, good evening from Germany. Long time no see. Hope you're doing great. Likewise, always great to hear from you, buddy, always. I'd say hi to Martin, please. Next up, Madeline said, Madeline is taking the program, and she's answering Jack Sparrow's question about how the program is. It is an utter waste of money. Don't ever take it. If you want to learn anything about business, the best you can do is avoid Chris Haroun at all costs. I understand, and I agree. No, I'm just kidding. I made that up. Sorry. Madeline, who's taking the program, said, hi, Jack. I'm currently enrolled in the Haroun On-Demand MBA program. I've learned more about finance and accounting, economics, and personal development than I've ever learned in my life. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And then Madeline went on to say, knowledge is power, and learning up-to-date information in the program makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for that testimonial. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. All right. Next up, I've got Sadiq. Hey, Sadiq, how are you, man? Who's saying, hey, Chris, good morning. I hope you're doing well. Likewise, thank you. I've been studying derivatives myself, and I must tell you that I was afraid earlier, but now I find it interesting and not that difficult as well. Yeah. Once you learn this stuff, and for those of you not familiar with derivatives derivatives is a calculus term, don't turn me off, for rise over the run, the rate of change. And derivatives basically means derivative instruments of, say, stocks. And so you can use derivative instruments like options, which are a form of derivatives, to bet on the rate of change, the derivative, rate of change of stocks. And there's options, futures, swaps, a lot of other things as well that make up that massive, massive market called derivatives. The most important one, I think, to learn is options. And I'll give you that sneak peek of the options course later on today. Thank you. All right. Next up, I've got, and give me 1 second, guys. It bounces on me sometimes. Okay, here we go. Lokesh, first time I've seen you, Lokesh. I hope you join us again, and thank you. Lokesh said, hey, Chris, I'm a student keen to pursue a career in finance. So do you have any advice and tips while applying for my first internship? Yeah. So most people think that when they get their first job or first internship, they've got to hit the ground running and know all the concepts they can impress everybody at work. That's not true. Initially it's somewhat administrative, and then they'll give you some more tasks after a month or two, maybe, that can challenge you. And when it comes to the finance industry, you're actually not allowed to talk to clients if you don't have certain certifications in certain countries. So in the United States, it's a Series 7. In Canada, it's the CSC, the Canadian Securities Course. Other countries have different things. I've taken many of them. And so as you prepare for an internship, and as you try to get an internship, the most important thing I could tell you is when you see a job opening online, don't just apply for it because you're one of thousands of other people that apply. And the person that usually gets that job has a different angle. Quite often they know somebody there, or they network to know people there. And so what I want you to do is I want you to network aggressively to meet people that work at that company and do informational meetings with them. And then when you get to the interview stage, you have people that can back you up. And you can name drop people you've met with and ask them to help you as well, maybe get your resume to the top of the pile. If you want to learn more about aggressive networking to take your career to the next level, just go to my website, harounventures.com, and you can download my networking book. It's a couple hundred pages, teaches you everything about networking, and it's free. I don't mention it as much as I used to because I got a complaint from a couple of students saying that I was over-mentioning it. Yeah, so. But let me go to the book and read it word for word. I'm just kidding. All right. Next up, Sharif said, hey, Chris, if you sense a secondary public offering is coming for a desired investment, how do you assess if you should invest now prior to the offering? Thank you. Yeah. So usually I would wait until after the offering And the reason is quite simply that when a company does a secondary offering, what it can mean is that they're creating more shares. And if more shares are created, it dilutes the earnings per share. And usually I wait until after that event, after the big supply increase in the market and the stock goes down, in many cases, then I buy. That's what I usually do. Now, when companies do an IPO or a secondary offering, what happens is there's two classes of shares that people get confused by. One is primary shares and the other is secondary shares. Primary shares are brand new shares being created, okay? And that's what dilutes earnings. Secondary shares means insiders or big shareholders are selling, okay? And so if it's completely about not primary shares but secondary shares, if it's completely about primary shares, I'd worry a bit more because more shares are being created. If it's about secondary shares, meaning share swaps, people selling their stake to somebody else, it's not as big of an issue. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up I've got Zoralina. Hey, Zoralina. I have a mobile food business, and I'm thinking of giving some of my profit to charity and a cause that I believe in. How can I make sure the money goes to the cause and not some CEO's salary? Yeah, I'm with you. One of my neighbors here owns this great restaurant truck business called Curry Up Now. It's awesome, good food. That's a tough call. It's about trust. It's about trust. And if it's a big charity, they have a board of advisors, etc. So I would look into who the board is if they have one. And if a very tiny part of you tells you that you think they're going to use that money for personal gain, don't give them money. And I can't stress that enough in life and in business in general. And we've all been there when there's somebody out there we did business with or became friends with or got in a relationship with, and our gut instinct initially told us, I don't think I trust this person, maybe, but I don't know. And then years later, you get screwed over and you're like, I should have gone with my gut. And so, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Always go with your gut. Yeah. And I teach you how to tell if somebody is lying as well. Just go to my website and at the top there, search for lying or how to tell if someone's lying. Yeah. And it's based on lessons I was taught by 25-year CIA and FBI veterans. Okay. When they were no longer with those divisions. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Sadiq said, I'm almost done with the CFA Level 1 derivative readings. Yeah. And so for those of you not familiar with CFA, it's a Certified Financial Analyst designation. It's better than an MBA. It's a 3-year designation you can get just to learn more about finance. And it's a very, very credible degree to have, so to speak, or charter holder have. So I'm almost done with CFA Level 1 derivatives. What else do you recommend? I prefer reading than watching videos. Call me old-fashioned, but I believe nothing can replace books. Yeah. When it comes to derivatives, there's really no amazing textbook out there because it's really, really theoretical, all these textbooks as well. Yeah. So I don't think there is anything in general when it comes to books. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Sharif said, also, would you please recommend a reference or individual for biotech investing? Thanks again. Yeah. So there's a buddy of mine named Evan McCulloch. And Evan actually, he was the #1 biotech portfolio manager on the planet. I know him because our kids are friends. And so he headed up the biotech portfolio. Now I think he's head of research at Franklin Templeton. And so you can follow him. He's on CNBC a lot as well. He gives a lot of advice about biotechs. And based on the many breakfast meetings I've had with him at pancake houses and my kids, he told me when it comes to biotechs, it's like a binary event. It's really dangerous. A binary event meaning 1 or 0. Meaning you can make a ton or you can lose a lot if it's a smaller cap. And so what he does is it's kind of a spray and pray mentality where he'll invest in a bunch of smaller biotechs, a lot of them. And if one takes off, he does extraordinarily well because most of them go to 0 anyway. And the reason why a biotech might do extraordinarily well is if the FDA or Federal Drug Administration body in the United States, and there's international versions as well, if the FDA approves a drug, for example, the stock can go up a lot. And even the mid cap and larger caps are really hard to invest in. And I remember I worked with a guy who managed billions of dollars, and he lost $100 million in one day in a stock called Biogen, ticker BIIB, back in 2005 because they did not get FDA approval. So just be really, really careful. Be very diversified when it comes to biotechs as well, because these things can go down really fast if they don't get approval, and it's impossible to know if they will or won't get it. You also want to pay attention, last thing I'll say, to clinical trials, because clinical trials is basically a precursor to approvals. Yeah. All right. Next up, John. Hey, John Romano. How are you? Romando, sorry. John wrote, hey, Chris. This was posted last time. I voted for the weekly 7 financial news topics in Q&A. Thank you. I'll return to that soon. I'll go back to that soon, I promise you. It's kind of mixed. I asked last week if people want me to do the 7 topics every week or just Q&A. And it was actually split, and I counted the results, and there was one more person that said a weekly Q&A. If I get a lot more requests, I'll go back to it. I'm going to go back to it anyway, but what I might do is I might do that towards the middle of the show. Not sure yet. It all depends on the feedback from my customers, my students. Yeah. All right. Next up, Sarthik wrote, hey, Peyton, I want to connect with you via Twitter and LinkedIn. Very cool. Moving on to Julian, who graduated from my program last year. Julian said, in Germany, the inflation in September was a record high. My strategy is to keep zero cash in the bank. All my money is in gold, ETF, and stocks. What's your strategy to protect from inflation? Yeah. So probably the best thing you can look at, but very, very low risk and hence low return, is TIPS, TIPS, which stands for Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. And what that means is it's U.S. government federal debt that goes up a certain amount each year because it has an interest rate. It's like a bond, but it goes up even more if inflation increases. Hence the name Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. Yeah. But I'm well diversified amongst many different asset classes. I'm starting to accumulate a little bit more cash these days, just so I have a little bit of dry powder just in case. And what we want to look for, and what we talked about in the MBA program, was look at the VIX. When the VIX spikes to an all-time high, no matter what, you back up the truck. And you did that. So I remember well, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw a number out here, Julian, but you mentioned you made 10 grand in the month of March last year because everybody on the planet was selling and the VIX spiked to an all-time high. I remember that. You did really, really well. Yeah, I even remember the write-ups you did as well, a couple company write-ups. Yeah. Good to see you, buddy. All right. Next up, I've got John Clee. John Clee is one of my employees, great guy. I met him here on week number 10 during my webcast, and I said I'm hiring, and John responded. So John said, too bad the Yankees blew it this week. No, I saw that game against the Red Sox. Yeah, it broke my heart my Blue Jays lost as well, even though we swept the last 3 games against the Orioles. What can you do? And then you wrote here, what does the financial advising industry look like in the future? Yeah. So it's definitely to be more artificial intelligence based. There will be robo-advisors. They're not going to replace all people, though, because you can't take away relationships and salespersonship as well. You can't. And most employees at Goldman Sachs, for example, are salespeople. Relationships are more important than product knowledge, and trust is very, very important when it comes to financial services. But I do think in the future we're going to be using a lot more artificial intelligence-based algorithms to pick stocks. And if you're interested in learning more about this, go to my website and do a search for the word hedge fund. And you'll see I did a vlog a couple of weeks ago about Jim Simmons, who's the guy that started Renaissance Technologies. They have over $100 billion in assets. And their annual average gross returns since the 1980s, get ready for this, is over 60%. And they have thousands of Linux servers running in parallel, closely guarded, of course, and they use AI a lot. Okay. Next up, Mehdi wrote, how can a computer science student get into finance after graduation? Yeah, there's a saying here in Silicon Valley amongst venture capitalists when I used to work in that sector, that it's easier for a computer science person or an engineer to get into finance than vice versa. Yeah. What I would say, and the reason is because they've been trained to kind of be very mathematical as well. So what I would say is just network like crazy, okay? Especially with alumni from whatever school you're at. Find people over LinkedIn to advanced searches that work in the finance industry that graduated from your school and set up Zoom meetings with them, or when COVID ends, if you're watching this in the future, set up one-on-one coffee meetings as well. Yeah. All right. All right, next up I've got Demian, who's one of my amazing MBA students. He's based actually in Barcelona with his wife and his son. And I always tease him because his last name is awesome. It's Valenzuela. And there's a great pitcher from Mexico, actually, played for the Los Angeles Dodgers in the early 80s, named Fernando Valenzuela. Yeah. And you got to get that jersey for yourself and your daughter and your wife as well. All right. And so Demian wrote, "Thank you very much for the brilliant content you teach us every Thursday." My pleasure. Thank you for the brilliant questions, too. Every time I advance in the MBA degree program, I feel blessed by the knowledge you give us. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Next up, MA wrote, "I love you, Chris." Thank you. I love you more. Thank you. And then Demian wrote, my work life is changed for better this time. Thanks to you, dear Chris. God bless you and your family. God bless you and your family way more. Way more. Yeah. And if anybody out there is going through career issues right now, and yeah, I'm going to get a little religious here because I want to. Don't worry when it comes to your career, because God already knows what's going to happen. And if you have a positive attitude about career stumbles, you'll do much better, because with crisis comes opportunity. And many years from now, you might not understand it now if you're younger, but if you've had some career setbacks, years from now, you might look back and say, that was a blessing in disguise because it guided me down a different path in life. So when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. You want to be a contrarian in life in general, especially in business. If you do the opposite of what most people do, you'll make money. I know it sounds simplistic, but that's why people like Warren Buffett and Elon Musk do well, because they're somewhat unemotional, and they're contrarians. Yeah. Okay. And MA wrote, "I love you, Chris, the best mentor." Thank you. Appreciate it. I love you too. All right. Next up, I've got Deborah, who wrote, "Should I continue my family business or pursue software engineering?" Yeah. So I would do whatever you're most passionate about. Okay. I would do that. And I have a lot of students that will say to me, there's a lot of pressure from my parents to run my family's business, but I'm not passionate about it. What do I do? Well, map out your future by thinking about where you want to be in 10 years. Okay. Write it all down. And then think about filling that gap and meet with your mom and dad and tell them, this is your career path. This is your destiny. This is what you want to do. And they'll understand it. They'll understand it because you've mapped out a career path for it as well, and a bunch of steps. And appeal, and yeah, I'm going to stereotype, but a little bit more so to your mom. And just say, this is where my heart is, Mom. Yeah. Dads have hearts too, okay? Yeah. All right. Next up, Chang wrote, "Chris, you're awesome." No, thank you. God bless you. "Your vibe gives me positive energy every day. Thank you so much." No, thank you as well. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I don't have a job. I have a passion. Yeah. And if you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself you're going to work, and I say this with love in my heart, then you're doing it wrong. You weren't meant to do what you're doing. You got to find your passion or your raison d'être. What was the reason you were put on this earth? And my job is to humbly be your teacher, mentor, waiter. Okay? And a waiter shows you all the items on the menu, and you just pick one or two items. And so my job is to expose you to all types of careers and jobs. And you just pick whatever you want. But my job is to expose you. And you obviously pick what you're most passionate about and only get food you like. Yeah, I know it sounds weird. Food for thought there. Okay. All right. Next up, I've got Manas. Hey, Manas. Manas is from India. He wrote a great book about a year ago called Bonds Before Business. Check it out. So Manas said, good morning, my dear mentor. Good morning to you. Hope all is well. My newest course is out. It's called Clubhouse Course for Beginners. Thank you for your love and support. Your experience pays dividends for me. Awesome. And congratulations on your new course. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So Manas has published a number of courses in record time on Udemy. Certainly a big inspiration as well. Yeah. Okay. And give me 1 second, guys. Thanks. Here we go. All right, next up, I've got Holger. Oh my God, dude, Holger, it's been a while. Holger's in my MBA program from Japan. I remember you well. You made a very nice video for me when you guys all wished me happy birthday last year. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. And you wrote, greetings from Tokyo. Thought I'd pop in. Great to see you. And if you want, join us also for my MBA Gold and Platinum students office hours, which is this. Actually today at 11:15 for 2 hours. And if you go in the curriculum of the course, you'll see where to click to access. But always join both if you want, please. Great to see you. Yeah. All right. And next, and you might be wondering, what is this MBA office hours thing I'm talking about? Is it this office hours here? No. So this office hours is for the general public. And it goes 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. or until there's no more questions. Then every Thursday from 11:15 a.m. Until 1:15 p.m., what I do is I have office hours for my gold and platinum students, and then I do a number of one-on-one meetings with my platinum students. You can learn more at this web address here. And we're thinking of rebranding the program too, not the content. We're thinking of rebranding it. Right now it's silver, gold, platinum. We're thinking of calling it live, meaning the on-demand. On-demand. Live and Live Plus. So anyway, something we're thinking about. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. If you like it or not. If you don't have a strong opinion, you don't have to type your answer. Thanks. All right. And then Manas wrote, I'm humbled to have you as an instructor. And by the way, this course and all my courses are always available for your Rwanda school, 100% free. That's my way of doing something to make this world a nice place. Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I've got Vital. We've talked a number of times since I got back from Rwanda this past summer. We're making good progress. The first building will be done by 2022 for sure because of COVID. Been a bit of a pushback. Yeah. And then next year I'm doing one in Kenya with one of my amazing MBA students named Marin. And then the year after that, I'm doing one in Nigeria with another one of my amazing MBA students named Kemi. Yeah. And both are in honor of their mothers. Yeah. All right. Hey, Christina, how are you? Christina wrote, hi, Holger. A long time no see. How are you doing? We miss you in our MBA live classes and weekly Zoom happy hour session. Thank you. And Christina is great. She's basically class president. She's awesome. She's a leader. And she's helped me out big time with this year's graduation. I rented the Hiller Aerospace Museum for our graduation for gold and platinum students. It's going to be this December. And if you want more details on that, you will be getting an email if you're in the gold and platinum program from Christina. And that's going to be an annual alumni and graduation event this December. Yeah, here in the Bay Area. Great to see you. And then Christina said, good morning, Chris and our amazing webcast family. Hope you're having an outstanding week so far. Likewise. Chris, I'm at 9 a.m. and only 360 steps. How about you? Yeah, thank you. And we do this in my gold and platinum students. We try to compete with each other to see if we can finish the entire thing of water every day. I'm on track. I'm 9 a.m. in terms of my steps. That's my son, Dylan. And this here was on graduation day. Sign of the times. Yeah. So in terms of my steps, I am at, and not very many because I haven't walked much today yet, 269. You're beating me. Yeah. All right. Next up, Madeline wrote, thank you for the laugh, Chris, regarding your comments on your MBA. Thank you. Before reading my true comments, no, thank you. That was called Dad Humor. Yeah. And you said, I appreciate several laughs in your MBA programs videos as well. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm so sorry for the awful dad humor in the MBA program. Yeah. All right. Next up, I've got Andre. Hey, Andre, how are you? Andre's another one of my students. And Andre said, I'm currently MBA program and I enjoy every moment of Chris's teachings on business investments. I think you're talking to another student here. And then you said, I only wish I'd never enrolled in a traditional MBA program. My honest opinion. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And we do have a lot of students from top MBA schools that also take my program, and humbly, they say that they learn more in a month than they did in their entire MBA program. Yeah. And that's why I do what I do. I just think that business is not taught the right way. It's too theoretical in schools, and it's not fun. All right. And then Manas wrote, my mentor, one question, very important. If I want to invest in a company which is about to do an IPO, what should I do? Like, it's a private company and it's going to be public on March 22nd. That's specific. What should I do? Yeah. So whenever a company goes public by law, they have to issue an investment offering memorandum. In the United States, it's called an S1. And you'll know a company is going public within a few months if you go to sec.gov and you do a search on that company's name and you see an S1 filing, right? And that's the only way to know legally if a company is actually going public. And what you can do before the IPO is you read that thoroughly, and I teach you how to do it in my courses, my MBA program as well. And lawyers and investment bankers and lawyers write it, and they disclose all the risks as well. Yeah, it's, I guess, one of the only positive things about having a lot of lawyers in this country. Unless you're a civil rights lawyer, then I love you. Yeah. And Manas said, thanks. Oh, you're talking to Christina. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, I've got Sadiq, who said, thanks for your suggestions, Chris. My pleasure. And I hope you'll put the options course on Udemy as well, or at least separately on your website for someone who can't afford your MBA program. Absolutely, of course. I'm all about accessibility. It'll be there. Yeah. Next up, Mohammed said, hey, Chris, what's your take on unpaid internships? I think they're completely unfair. Also, how do you think should I ask a company with an unpaid internship to make it paid? Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So I think if you join a company and you're doing a free internship, your goal obviously is to get the full-time offer. So I would add a tremendous amount of value. Okay, like a lot of value. Like either save the company money by what you're doing, or make the company more money, and that way they can justify hiring you. And just understand that usually in business, people are motivated by three things. They want to make more money, they want to get promoted faster, and they want to enjoy what they do. So if you're doing an internship and you're working for somebody at the internship, help them either make more money, right? Get promoted faster, make them look good, or help them enjoy their job more, make it more fun, enhance the culture of the team. That's important. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Zoralina said, I'm taking the MBA. I'm only 15% completed. It's so informative. Thank you. It's enriching me. Chris is a brilliant person. Thank you. And teacher and teaches in a fun way. Thank you. I appreciate that, Zoralina. Thank you. It's been fun. It's only get better too as I have more stuff. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Shihan said, hey, Chris, hope that all is well. It's great to see you and be on this weekly call again. Thank you. I would like to ask you, if you were to forecast the future gold price, how would you go about it? Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So gold is kind of a fear index. It was my biggest long position in 2008 when I was net short the markets. I had owned something. So I owned GLD, ticker GLD, the ETF for gold, which there's a 0.5% fee per year. It's not bad. So it's kind of a counter indicator. So when people freak out, the price of gold usually goes up a lot. It's a flight to quality. And the great thing about gold also in the long run is there's a dearth of supply, right? And you always want to look at the supply of any product. Like my grandfather, God bless him, he used to say to me, Chrissy, buy land. They're not making it anymore. And so I think gold is a great investment longer term. I think it does extraordinarily well the next time people freak out, right? If you want to be a shorter term investor, when people are freaking out and the market's crashing, back up the truck and buy a lot of gold. That's an American saying, back up the truck. Buy a lot of gold. And then When things improve a lot, you can ditch the gold and buy something that's more more tied to economic cycles, like silver, which has a lot of industrial purposes. I love silver. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, I forgot to mention, I've made an Asia Books record through Clubhouse. I'm really happy and proud that a member of the HEV family achieved the milestone. Thank you for everything. That's awesome. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yeah. I don't even know what that means, dude. I'm not, like, I've done Clubhouse, I signed up and stuff, but I'm a little bit out of touch when it comes to that. Thanks. But I do know what Discord is now. And then Shihan wrote, I know it's heavily dependent on the US dollar index. Oh, gold, you're saying. Yeah. Well, the US dollar is also a flight to quality, right? Like back in 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, the US dollar went up a lot relative to other currencies because it was kind of a fear of flight to quality fiat currency, kind of like gold is as well. Yeah. All right, next up, Manas said, my mentor, I started your cryptos course. It's cool, but I have a question. Sure. And I'll scroll down to your question. Okay, you wrote, I have zero experience in cryptos. So should I take the course from beginner to advanced or sequence-wise? Your suggestions on that? I would just go beginning to end. Yeah. All right. And I researched that so much, that course, dude. And I hired a guy to help me with it, right, to proofread everything. And I kid you not, this is nutty. But I got a knock on my door from the NSA. And the guy came in, and I was scared. I was like, what did I do? Nothing, I hope. I use incognito mode all the time. Just kidding. Sorry. And he said, well, we're looking at this guy. And he didn't tell me exactly why. And I think they were looking to hire him. He was that good. I'll never disclose his name, of course. Yeah. But that scared me, getting a knock on the door from the NSA. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Sadiq said, since you mentioned artificial intelligence and machine learning, how important is it for finance students and professionals to learn Python or R or other programming languages, if it's important at all? Yeah, I would say do Python if you're passionate about technology and it seems like fun. Because if it's not fun for you, you won't be really, really successful, because the people that do well in tech are the ones that love it. They're passionate about it. And when I used to work in venture capital, we used to say that the difference between an average engineer and a great engineer is literally 10 times more in performance. And the great engineers are the ones that love it. They're passionate about it. It's like playing a video game for them when they're coding. Yeah. All right. But I would say that learning Python and other programming languages is important if you want to go into artificial intelligence-based algorithms, etc. Yeah. And what you can do is you can just start out with Excel, for example, for fun, and play around with macros, Visual Basic for applications, VBA, and then just enjoy that. And if you find that you enjoy creating the little widgets or buttons more than you enjoy the actual coding in the background, meaning with macros, then it probably means you want to be a front-end designer doing graphical user interfaces or GUIs. If you enjoy the code more, the back-end stuff, then you might enjoy Python, for example, a lot more. Yeah. I love visual programming, always have. All right. Next up, Mr. Invisible 2 wrote, hey, Chris, I hope you're well. Can I get a job as a financial analyst at a top company if I have only 2 years of experience in a small public accounting firm that's not a Big Four? A Big Four is Big Four accounting firms like KPMG, et cetera. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You just have to network like crazy. Just set up a ton of informational meetings. And I know it sounds simplistic, but if I told you that if you did 100 informational meetings, that you would get the job of your dreams, would you do it? Of course you'd say yes. Most people don't follow through, though. I'm not singling you out. It's just people in general. They usually don't follow through. And if you think about it this way, if you think that each meeting saves you $1,000, then 100 meetings times $1,000 is $100,000. The cost of getting an MBA from a traditional school is $100,000. And a lot of people go to these top schools to try to get a job. Well, if you network a lot, you can get that job as well. If you're aggressive, remember, 100 meetings times $1,000 that you're saving, it's 100 grand. Yeah. All right. And if you don't believe me, just do a search on people that went from the mailroom with only a high school education to the corner office. It's in every industry. Even Goldman Sachs. Back in the 60s, there's this guy who started the mailroom named Sidney Weinberg, and he was CEO for a couple decades. Yeah, and there's plenty of examples in other industries. I can go there if you want me to. All right. Next up, Sadiq said, sorry for asking too many questions. Say, no, as many as you want. You're the customer. Even if you don't own my courses, even if you never plan on buying any of my courses, I'm here for you. I'm here to humbly help if I can. Yeah. And then he wrote, thanks for your patience and kindness. Really appreciate your help. My pleasure. Okay. Next up, I've got Tora Aesthetic wrote, I have a customer service job at Fidelity. Cool. And for those not familiar with Fidelity, it's a big mutual fund based in Boston, where all the mutual funds are for some reason. Then you wrote, do you think there's good use for a CFA in a place focused on financial planning? God bless. Yeah, God bless you way more. Yeah. I think a CFA is a great designation. Yeah. Yeah. It'll definitely teach you a lot about all the basics of finance, accounting, more advanced options stuff, etc., and ethics. And that can only help you when it comes to financial planning and helping clients grow their personal net worth. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next up, John wrote, and give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, good. Next up, John wrote, speaking of artificial intelligence, have you all heard of a company called Future Acres? They're a startup that wants to make fleets of autonomous harvesters and are looking for funding. I've never heard of it. Sorry. Yeah. What a great name, though. Harvesting Future Acres. That's a dope name. Very cool. All right. And next up, we have Ali. Ali wrote, I love you, Chris. Thank you. I love you too, Ali. Your MBA program is really dope. Cool. Being enrolled in the MBA is like an early Christmas gift. I quit my job as a business consultant due to the toxic environment. Now I'm ready for a better job. Awesome. Awesome. And I hope it helps you a lot. If not, and you're within 30 days, just ask for your money back. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Hisham, how are you? Hisham used to work with me as well. He now works at Amazon. He's got an awesome, dope job. He was one of my students when I used to teach during the evenings at one of the universities, which was San Francisco State. In the San Francisco campus, right there. Actually, no, it was a Daly City campus. You sat on the right side, one from the wall, front row. I remember that. Hisham, how are you? And Hisham worked with me for a while as well. He's great. So Hisham said, "Good morning, Chris. I hope you and your family are doing well." Question: What do you think Web 3.0 is? Also, your thoughts on Reddit. Yeah. So let me do it in reverse order. So I'm a huge fan of Reddit. I love it because the upvotes concept, which basically means that the best answers get to you. And it's kind of like a freer version of Quora. And Reddit, I did a vlog on it. Go to my website, Haroun Ventures, do a search on Reddit because they're doing a $10 billion IPO very soon. I'll give you my thoughts. The founder of Reddit and his wife, Serena Williams, they lived around the corner from me, a couple houses down. They've since moved. Yeah. In terms of Web 3.0, yeah. So whenever you hear that Web 1, 2, 3, it's just new iterations of the internet. And so I think the next iteration or the future iteration of the internet is going to be somewhat more visual and audio based. Okay, and there's a reason why all these large tech companies have gotten into the augmented and virtual reality market. You know, Facebook with Oculus, Microsoft with HoloLens, Google with Magic Leap, etc. Because the next operating system platform, so to speak, may be somewhat virtual reality or augmented reality based. We're not really sure yet. And I do know that the next iteration of the internet from an innovation perspective is definitely be much more voice based. Because we've proven with ALEXA and SIRI that we don't have to see, feel, or touch the operating system. It can just be kind of all around us. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about Web 3.0, there's a great venture capitalist named Chris Dixon who put out a groundbreaking piece recently on Web 3.0. And Chris Dixon works at Andreessen Horowitz. Yeah. Or you can go to a16z.com to learn more about Chris. He's a good guy. All right. Next up, Ali said, by the way, greetings from Zambia, Africa. Greetings back at you. Great to have you. I love how global this our MBA family is here. Yeah. And Manos wrote, and my mentor, or Chris, sure, Another news, I just submitted another course, and it's going to be live by Saturday. Nice. It's fun, and it gives me a sense of excitement to do it all the time. Okay, when is your real estate course coming? Yeah, that's what you asked me. So it'll be next year. Yeah, now, I was going to do real estate this year, but it would have been a rush job, and I want it to be a great product. Yeah. All right. Next up, Alex P. I'm smiling because I'm thinking of Alex P. Keaton. So Alex said, have you ever been to Utah? And if you have, what are your thoughts? Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I used to go every year when I used to invest in a software company that was publicly traded called Novell, ticker NOVL. I would meet with Jack Messman, who was the CEO at the time. And I would just go skiing as well with my buddies when I was there. I loved it. Yeah, and it was called Brain Share, which was the annual Novell event. And I went to Snowbird skiing there as well. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was paradise. Yeah. All right. And then Christina said, Chris, I like the on-demand silver, gold, and platinum levels of your program. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're thinking of rebranding. We might not. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Next up, I got Ali, who said, Chris, when you publish the options course, will it be available to silver MBA students too? Absolutely. Yeah. So it's going to be added to class number 89. So remember that, and I'll send out a message to everybody letting y'all know that it's been added to the program. Yeah, and you never pay for any of my stuff. Once you get my MBA, you get all my stuff for free forever. Yeah, and I keep adding to it every year. It's always up to date. It's a good deal. Yeah. Next up, L. Greg said, hello, Chris. Hey, Greg, how are you, man? Hope you're doing well. Now, and Alex wrote, also, what are the industries that you think are targeting entry-level data and insights and business analysts other than financial services, fintech, biotech? What are the industries that are targeting this? Yeah. Well, I would say whenever it comes to anything data analysis or dashboarding or business intelligence or whatever the new buzzword is these days, every sector is looking at that. Because every big company in every sector has a massive technology department. Because usually the two biggest resources or important drivers of success for companies are number one, people, number two, technology. And so there's data analytics jobs at every major company in every sector. Yeah. Okay. And if you want to learn more about that stuff, just do a search. A buddy of mine named Chris also, he owns this company called Maven Analytics, and he has courses on Udemy, and he has a program on his website too. Do a search on Maven Analytics. Yeah. All right. Next up, I got Rawlings, who's one of my amazing MBA students based in Nigeria, who recently networked with one of my other amazing students from Nigeria who lives in Ottawa, named Kemi recently. And so Rawlings wrote, hello, Haroun Education Ventures family. It's been an amazing journey riding the Haroun Education Ventures MBA. Thanks, mentor. I prefer silver, gold, and platinum nomenclature. Okay, thank you. Yeah. I'll tell my team that they're starting to roll out the new branding, which is on demand, live, and live plus. Yeah, let me think about it. Yeah, we might do co-branding for a while, but I think I might be with you. Yeah, and Christina. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, now time for a silly question. What is your favorite, the summer or the winter? Like for my country, it's mostly warm and humid and moist. So we're used to the heat, but what about you? Yeah, as long as it's not a monsoon, depending on where you live. So for me, definitely summer. Yeah, definitely summer. I mean, but I grew up in Canada with 4 seasons, and I actually do miss the change of seasons. Because it does get, like where I live now, it's never too hot or too cold, whatever, there's no snow, but it's a little bit monotonous. Like I love the breadth and depth and diversity of the seasonal changes. Yeah. And plus, it always gives you, if you live in a country where it's cold, you always have something to look forward to, which is summer, and you don't waste any day. Like there's people that grew up in California, they never heard their parents say this. It's a beautiful day, get out there and stay out there. That's what it was like in Canada in the summer. We didn't waste any days. We played street hockey. We either played street hockey or we played 500 up baseball. Yeah. So I love it. And these are a lot of props I have for an upcoming course. Yeah. All right. Although my office, you might think it looks neat and clean because the background. There's a minefield down here, man. I got props everywhere. Yeah. All right. Next up, Sanyam said, Chris, I wanted to check about your idea creating an index for the MBA program. Yeah, it's already there. All you have to do is go to my website. Okay, it's like a database. Like if I give you a database, you don't read the whole database in order. You do searches on it. So if you go to my website, what you can do is at the top of my website, harounventures.com, search on any topic and you'll find it there. You'll find where it is. Yeah. And what you can also do in the curriculum is you can just scroll up and down and look at the topics that way as well. Yeah. Yeah, if you're referring to something else, let me know and I'll get my team to sandbox it or beta test it. Thank you. All right, next up, I've got John. John said, Chris, it would be fun to see a virtual reality / AR version of your courses. Very funny you're saying that because I'm thinking very seriously about it. You'll notice that with Tony Shark, there's the virtual reality case study we did, a fictional character I made up. Don't sue me, Marvel, please. But I am thinking of it, and I've talked about this a lot with my students. So the way my MBA program is going to look like eventually, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it. Eventually, it's going to be set up so that you can take it as is, and there's great networking rooms as well. And so you'll be able to walk around the world virtually and take courses and electives in different locations while networking with other people. Now, from a networking perspective, I sound like I'm drunk there. From a networking perspective, there are great abilities for y'all to network in the program as well, using Slack, which is a free tool, and I might be rolling out Discord soon too. I'm not sure, but there's great networking capabilities. Yeah. All right. Next up, Kumaresan said, "Hi, sir. Why $1, approximately 75 rupees, and fluctuates daily?" Yeah. So if you're curious about how foreign exchange works, go to my website, harounventures.com, and do a search on foreign exchange or FX, because I did a big segment on that. The bottom line, though, is it all depends on what the Central Bank of India and the Federal Reserve of the United States, it depends what their interest rates are. If interest rates are really high, then the value of the currency goes up a lot and vice versa. And you can do a search on my website on the Idiot's Guide to Interest Rates. And I made a fool of myself, but I'd rather you laugh at me than with me. Okay, so Idiot's Guide to Interest Rates, if I can use the right keyboard. So if you do a search here on idiot, you'll see a lot of things come up. Here it is here. An Idiot's Guide to Interest Rates explained by an idiot, moi. And so what I did here was I explained, using Back to the Future props as always, all about interest rates and going back in time and all that stuff, making an idiot of myself. My hair used to be short. But anyway, you could check it out here. And I use old currency, right? So those are old US dollars. And I explain exactly how it works with lots of props. It was fun. And then I put on my Ferris Bueller jacket and I said, "You're still here?" Yeah. I have fun doing what I'm doing. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, Sanyam said, Chris, what is your strategy for personal debt management? Yeah. So it depends what country you're in. If you're in the United States, you have to have debt. In other countries, it's not as necessary. And the reason I say it's necessary in the United States is because the United States, unlike any other country on the planet, when you have a mortgage, the interest on your mortgage is tax deductible. So if you have a mortgage, you pay less in taxes. And with rates basically zero, it makes sense to always have a massive mortgage. In fact, it almost makes sense to have a mortgage regardless of what interest rates are because of that tax write-off, always. When it comes to debt management in general, the first thing I would do is get rid of credit cards if you can. Right? I know it's hard. It's really, really hard. Or just have one. Right? They have these teaser rates which seduce you to get involved with them, and then you get the surprise bill. You're paying 20% interest, which is criminal, and other fees. So I would always prioritize paying off credit cards first. And you always have to keep your credit rating in mind as well. And so you can do a search on Fitch, for example, to find out more information about the Fitch credit rating and how to make your credit rating better. Because if you pay back debt even a day late, it might mean you cannot buy a house. It's crazy. So pay attention to your credit rating. And it happened to me too, dude. So what happened was, I'll tell you a story. So what happened to me was years ago, I wanted to buy a house. This house, actually, in a place called Hillsborough, California. And I was long two houses because I was selling my old one and buying this one at the same time. And I didn't get approved for a mortgage. And I was like, WTF? Why the face? And what happened was the credit agency said, well, we noticed here that you have a Nordstrom balance that was paid back late. And Nordstrom is a clothing company founded in here on the left coast up in Washington State. And so it was totally bogus. And so I actually had to go. We couldn't buy the house. Like, I was screwed, man. And so I went to Nordstrom in San Francisco. I remember at the Westfield Shopping Center. And I found the manager there. And I got down on my knees. Hey there, this is me on my knees. And I prayed. And I said, please, 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 please help me with this problem. And it was a mistake they made on their end, or maybe I paid it back a day late, whatever, and they reversed it, right? And so when it comes to customer service, you can always ask them to reverse things. You can even call your cable company right now in your country and say, I'm thinking of cutting the cable and just using Netflix. And they'll give you a good deal right there. They'll give you like 20% off for the next 6 months. But I had to beg Nordstrom to get rid of that payment issue and call the credit agency for me. So the bottom line is, from a debt management perspective, prioritize your debt based on getting rid of high interest rate products like credit cards, and be very cognizant of what your credit rating is. And there's a lot of other great websites out there like Credit Karma, etc., that can help you create a pristine or perfect credit rating. Otherwise, you won't be able to buy a house one day. Yeah. All right. And I teach a lot more about that stuff in my MBA program as well. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I have a new person here on the call, and I'm never going to forget your name. It's Amar Loves Tacos, ALT. I love it. I love it. And Taco Bell now has a subscription business models, and you can do a search on subscription business models on my website. I actually did a segment on them a few weeks ago. So Amar Loves Tacos wrote, hey, Chris, I'm in your crypto course, and I have a question. Unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum, yeah, I know where you're going. Unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum has no limit on its total amount. Do you think this might be a downside to investing in the long run if they get too bullish on Ethereum? Yeah, it's a great question. So in the 49 steps I teach you in my program, in my crypto course, there's a more up-to-date version of my MBA program too, about how to invest in a crypto. One of the most important things is looking at the supply. Now, with Bitcoin, there's a dearth of supply. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever made by the year 2140. And that's a good thing, right? Because if too many shares are created, you get diluted. But when it comes to Ethereum, which I own and I have owned and I'm mining and I'll never sell, when it comes to Ethereum, there's technically no limit on the number of shares. And so what does that mean? Why would you invest in that, Chris, then? It goes against everything you teach in the course. Well, the reason why I love Ethereum is because I pride myself on, I've been a tech investor for decades in the hedge fund market, at Goldman, whatever, also in venture capital. I love investing in platforms, okay? Now, the best business models in history, okay, the tech ones at least, they're platforms. Facebook is a platform. I don't trust them, but they're a platform, okay? And they own the road. And on the road, you have a bunch of different cars, meaning users, that populate the platform. And it's like a toll booth. They charge them, even though Facebook doesn't make any social media content themselves. LinkedIn is also a platform, right, for jobs, etc. Although LinkedIn itself doesn't usually create much content. Apple is a platform, right? So Apple is a platform. They make money by charging people rip-off fees of 30% based on buying apps, etc. All platforms are great investments. And when I worked in venture capital, that's what I look for closely. I always look at companies that have platforms. Now, Ethereum is a platform too, because on Ethereum, This is how companies go public, so to speak, in crypto land, or ICOs. So when ICOs, initial coin offerings, occur, they occur on the Ethereum platform most of the time. Also, on the Ethereum platform, many, if not actually most NFTs you buy that are really based on the Ethereum platform. And so that's why it's the exception to my rule investment-wise. Now, I've disclosed in the past that I own 4 cryptos. Do your research first, and then please don't ever rely on me or anybody. But these 4 cryptos I own, I'm never selling. Okay, so and I pride myself on teaching you how to fish instead of giving you a fish. So I own, and that's just me buying time to think of what do I own again? I own, I'm kidding, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ripple. And the Ripple founder lives not too far away from here. Yeah. All right, great question. Amar loves tacos. ALT. Okay, L. Greg de la Pampa wrote, Chris, is the shortage of goods reflected in Wall Street indexes, like stocks? Yeah. I mean, I would say that. So the best way to think about that question is if interest rates are basically zero, everything becomes more expensive, right? Because people think, I'm not going to leave money in the bank. I'm going to, I don't know, I guess I'll buy stocks, or I'll buy land, or I'll buy cryptos, or NFTs, or whatever it is. The same thing with companies. Companies think, I'm not just going to sit on cash. I'm going to make more stuff. I'm going to invest. I'm going to buy more stuff, buy more equipment for R&D, which drives up the price of R&D equipment, et cetera. And as a result of interest rates being zero, everything from semiconductors to food products, everything has gone up in price. Why is the government letting this happen? It is a disaster, right? Well, they have no choice, and here's why. So the way it works is governments have 2 types of medicine to fix the economy, nothing to do with COVID. And the medicine they have is monetary policy, which is the policy of money, and they have fiscal policy. And once they run out of the medicine in both bottles, then they're screwed. And they're like, oh my God, what do we do now to fix the economy? We're out of medicine. So let's kick it off quickly with monetary policy. So monetary policy, the policy of money, basically means changing interest rates. And if you cut interest rates, you're stimulating the economy. And interest rates are basically zero, so there's no more medicine left in this bottle. Bye-bye. This bottle here is fiscal policy, which means stimulus programs. Right? It can mean building bridges, roads, highways, whatever it is. Bridges, not walls. And then basically, once you're out of this, you're screwed. So there's only so much more the governments can do in terms of stimulus programs. Future generations refer to stimulus programs as a steal from us program. Now, I think it's right to have a stimulus program when times are dire, like today. I think it's smart. Because what happens is if you build lots of bridges, roads, etc., what happens is it employs more people and helps the economy. It's a good thing to do. And stimulus programs have helped build economies from scratch. So it happened after World War II. The United States government had massive stimulus programs in the 60s, the Highway Act, to build highways, which helped the economy grow a lot and employed people and tax revenues, all that stuff. And also after World War II, they had the GI Bill, meaning anybody that was in World War II that came home, what they could do was they can get a free undergraduate education. That's the stimulus program. Now, here's the problem. When you run out of monetary policy, because rates are zero, there's no bullets left, and you run out of fiscal policy, there's only so many stimulus programs you can do before a country goes bankrupt. What do you do now? Well, you can create this invisible hand wealth effect, so to speak. No reference to Adam Smith there, the economist. But what you can do is, if you find a way as a government to make everybody feel richer and good about their net worth, then they're going to spend more money, which helps the economy. So what's happening now? Well, governments are leaving rates at zero for a longer period of time, and it's creating a bunch of asset bubbles. Okay, so real estate property values have gone up a lot. Same thing with commodities. Oil's now at a 7-year high, partially because of OPEC. Another story there. Stocks are at an all-time high. NFTs and speculative investments are at all-time highs as well. And by doing that, by keeping interest rates zero, it encourages people not to leave money in the bank. And so people buy speculative stuff and they feel richer. Right? And they spend more, which is self-fulfilling, helps the economy. Now, the government is a conundrum right now. They can raise rates now to fight inflation, or they can wait a bit to see what the hell is going to happen with Delta and other variants. And I actually think it's smart that they're waiting. Because if they raise rates too early and destroy the economy, they're screwed. But if they wait a little bit longer and let inflation get a little bit more out of hand, it's not the end of the world. And the government is kind of signaling that they don't know what the hell is going to happen with COVID. I mean, it's actually scary. Like, I'm an optimist, right? But I've started wearing my mask again when I go out, just for me, whatever. Because Israel, for example, 58% of Israelis were vaccinated with a Pfizer vaccine, which I got too. 58% as of January. And it's supposed to protect you 90% of the time. And every month, they've realized in Israel that the efficacy, meaning how well it works, goes down 10%. So after 6 months, instead of being 90% effective, maybe it's 30 or 40%. And it's terrifying. It's basically the number of deaths decreases if you get vaccinated, but there's new variants as well. And the governments just don't know what's going to happen. And the same thing with big tech companies. They're not, spreading fear and all that stuff, whatever, but they're signaling they are. Because big tech companies have access to just as much data as governments do, almost. Big tech companies are now saying, well, actually, instead of coming back to work this year, you can wait till next year. And some companies, like Twitter, are saying you can work from home forever. And because big tech companies are doing this, big firms like Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, because they're doing this, they're saying, wait a little bit longer before coming back to work. What they're not saying is they see a lot of data, right? They have access to a ton of data, just like the government. And they're somewhat concerned, which is why they're deferring when to come back to work. And I think once the data shows that things are getting better, meaning the Delta variant is not getting worse, or these booster shots might help, whatever, like an annual flu shot, then I think once the government gets it under control, they understand what's happening with COVID, et cetera, then they'll start raising interest rates to offset inflation. Yeah. Okay. All right. And you're probably thinking, Chris, you just gave me an encyclopedia to a question that was yes or no. All right. Next up, Rawlings wrote, hello, Chris. What is your opinion on Nigerian Naira? I don't know anything about that. I'm so sorry. But I do have a wonderful student who's just contacted by YCombinator, my MBA program, and she gave a wonderful speech. She gave a wonderful speech on how to raise money for anybody that wants to be funded by YCombinator, etc. And her name is Kemi Tade. And so she's great. She's one of my platinum students. She's awesome. And so she gave this great speech. And if you want, you can click right here. It was a YCombinator event, and I think there's a replay available as well. And you might want to ask her, because I'm sure that, and I think you connected with her as well through the MBA program, through our networking program. She'll know what Nigerian Naira is. Yeah. That was a long way for me to say, I don't know what that is. Yeah. All right, next up, we got Himanshu. How are you? Himanshu said, hello, sir. I'm doing your Udemy MBA course. I found it very useful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I know there were some video issues with it recently, which is resolved now. And if that impacted you or anybody on the call, I apologize. Yeah, it's fixed. All right, next up, L. Greg said, Chris, when is the best start to your MBA program I purchased? Yeah, so it all depends. You can take it any way you want to. There's 5 core parts to it. You can take it beginning to end, or you can focus on what you're most passionate about. And those 5 parts are as follows. There's personal growth, which is not in traditional MBA programs, right? Teach you to be more productive, etc. There's finance and accounting. There's economics management and strategy. There's sales, marketing, communication, and there's entrepreneurship. So you can just take those 5 concentrations within the program if you want to, and it's very intuitive the way it's laid out as well. Yeah. And to pass and to get the degree, it's all you have to do is get over 50% on half the quizzes. Now there's 100 classes that are about 3 hours each, and after each class there's a quiz that's 5 or 10 questions, and you only have to take or get over 50% on half of them. You don't even have to take all the classes too. Yeah. Next up, Ajay said, hello, how are you, man? So, and then your question is, hope you're doing great, likewise. I've checked multiple articles, but I'm still not clear about will upgrading my existing credit card affect my credit card score or not. Thanks. Yeah. So there's plenty of, so upgrading your credit card will help your credit rating, and I'll tell you why. So the way that credit agencies work is they look at how much credit you have available to you and if you pay back your bills on time. So if you have a credit card right now, and please only have like one credit card, but if you have a credit card and you have a $300 limit, if you pay it on time, and then after 6 months or so of paying your bills on time, you call the credit card company and say, hey, can you increase it to $400? That will help you. Okay, that will help in your credit score. And so you can do a search on Fair Isaac. I think I said Fitch before. I meant to say Fair Isaac, F-I-C, Fair Isaac Corporation. Sorry. So you can do a search on Fair Isaac and credit scores, or you can just go to creditkarma.com, or just do a simplistic search of how do I improve my credit score. Sorry about the mistake earlier. I said Fitch is an agency that rates your credit. It's actually for bonds. Fair Isaac Corp is the one, F-I-C. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, Holger, who's one of my MBA students from Japan. He said, what happens to the Nintendo world for graduation? I'm still game to go. I just need to catch up in the program. Please contact me if any interest. Yeah, dude, so I do an annual alumni event for my gold and platinum students. And it's also an annual graduation. So this year, we're going to do it here in the Bay Area. I rented out the Hiller Aviation Museum, which has a 747 that we got exclusive access to. We can walk into. It got taken out of circulation, at 747 back in 1971. It's beautiful. I want to do it at Nintendo World because I want to bring my kids and because I want to go as well. That'd be dope to go there. Yeah. This is not the year to do it though. But in the future, I promise you it will happen. And if you're curious to learn more about the Hiller Aviation Museum, what you can do is go here. This will be fast, guys, okay? Hiller Space Museum. Here it is here. Yeah. So I rented the whole thing. And if you're in the Platinum Gold program last year, this year, you're invited as well. But you can actually go inside this thing too. And I'm actually filming a promotional trailer at it as well. And I'm going to actually be, it's kind of cheesy, but you know me. I'm actually going to be in a cockpit of it for the promotional trailer I'm making for the MBA program right here. And I'm going to walk out to regular class and I'm going to say, you've all been upgraded to business class. Hey. But anyway, it's a beautiful museum. You can learn a lot about aviation as well. Bring your kids. It's great. It's amazing. Yeah. And the setup we have is going to be unbelievable. I rented the whole thing. It'll be awesome. All right. I digress. All right. Next up, pardon me. John wrote that NFT sounds like a big deal. You can probably tag it with any digital assets and resale software if you want, including ebooks, Audible, movies, etc. Yeah. And people have been doing that with videos and not just artwork. So, for example, there's that video years ago, it was an internet sensation on YouTube, which was Freddie bit my finger, or Charlie bit my finger. Remember that one? And so the family that filmed that cute little video sold it for about $500,000 through an NFT. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about NFTs, one of my great students, Peyton, he has this website, gamereport.io. Yeah. Or you can watch last week's webcast on YouTube. I interviewed him about it. Yeah. All right. Next up, Kyrol. Kyrol, first time I've seen you on the call. I hope you join us again. I wrote, good morning, Chris. Continue to do the good work. Thank you. I'm learning a lot. That makes two of us because when one teaches, two learn. And then you wrote here, Vantage Point AI. What's your opinion on that? I don't have a strong opinion on that. I don't know much about it at all, to be honest. But if you want to know about artificial intelligence-based algorithms when it comes to investing, you can go to my website, Haroun Ventures, and do a search on that at the top. And I have a gazillion videos on that stuff. Yeah. Next up, Dinesh wrote, hey, Chris, how are you? I'm always great, thanks. And I hope you're doing well as well. And I hope you're enjoying the program. And then L. Greg said, Chris, do you use NFC technology? Yeah, just from an investing perspective. Like I'm a nerd. I've been collecting baseball cards for 8 million years. So I started out investing in in just card-based baseball cards. That's how I learned about stocks and investing when I was a kid. And now I've started to do it online as well. Yeah. And it's amazing because the top, and this is if this was real, it'd be worth 6.6 million. This is a Honus Wagner T206. It's a prop. But it's amazing because the Topps Corporation, which dominates sports cards, this shocked the world, man. What happened was Major League Baseball decided they're no longer going to be going with Topps. 2 years from now, another company that makes clothing products, Fan Nation or whatever it's called, is going to be doing it. Do a search on my website and the word Topps. I did a very long video on that and a case study on Topps as well, which shocked the investing world. Next up, Alex P. Said the Phoenix Suns fan that said Suns in 4 during the NBA playoff actually created an NFT, and it shows him yelling Suns in 4. Very cool. Dude, a lot of people are getting on that bandwagon. Even Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, do a search on Gary V. I'm in his Discord channel as well. He's actually started doing his own NFTs as well. And you might think it's silly. He's drawing little pictures and selling them. Well, he's generated over $80 million. Yeah, it's amazing. And he's usually pretty early, Gary V. And if you're not sure what social media products you should look into or you should use, I'll show you the best way to tell. So what you do is you do a search on Gary V, right? And once you go to his website, go to the bottom. And you'll see here at the bottom which social media products he uses and in which order of importance. And so, of course, we got Insta first, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, which I don't understand, LinkedIn, and this here is podcast. He got rid of Method because it's a loser platform. I think he'll probably add TikTok here somewhere very, very soon. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Derego said, what are the best practices as a knowledge worker in managing your mind to always stay focused and productive on your work, especially as I'm a programmer? Thank you, sir. No, thank you. Call me Chris, please. Yeah, so in the personal growth track of the MBA degree program, I teach you how to be way more productive using many aspects of management practices I've learned over the past year. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break and show you a 53-second video on personal growth. This is the personal growth track of the MBA program, and this will answer your question. I'll be right back, and thanks, everybody. So I actually don't teach you how to draw with crayons. That was just an example. But in the program, I give you a massive number of tools in your toolbox or arrows in your quiver so that you can accomplish anything you want to in business using different frameworks. You know, one of them is how to schedule each day so your productivity increases 10x daily. Yes, 10x. Okay. All right, next up, John wrote, hey, Chris, do you have any content related to real estate? There is some in the program, but I'm adding a massive new section to the program next year, probably within the first 6 months of the year. That's going to be focused on real estate. And I'm doing case studies based on buildings I bought. I'm going to go visit them and kind of walk through why I bought them and how I make money from them and all that stuff as well. Yeah. And by the way, if anybody owns or is about to buy a house, what I recommend doing before you buy it, please, is I want you to see if you can use, let me go here. If you can actually use Airbnb in your house, it'll help pay your mortgage from scratch. So what you do is go to my website, harounventures.com, and then up here, do a search on Airbnb. It should have hit my, Airbnb's core business. And I wrote here, how to make money and pay your mortgage with Airbnb. And if you have questions about that, let me know. I think it's a great investment for you, though, as well. If you can buy a house that lets you rent out a room, and I even talk about how to do contractor work yourself. to build an external door to a room, etc., which is what I've done a few times here in this house. Yes, I made a lot of mistakes, but it cost me about $1,000 to do it. Yeah, return on investment's quick. All right, next up, Darius wrote, oops, hold on a second. Darius wrote, what are your thoughts on technical analysis for cryptos? Like stocks, technical analysis is based on news and economic shifts, but unlike stocks, there's no proper fundamental analysis like financial statements for cryptos. Yeah, so there is a way to do fundamental analysis on cryptos. So in my crypto course, which you can get from my website or get a bigger version of it in a more up-to-date version of my MBA program, I give you 49 steps on how to look at the fundamentals of cryptos as well. And so technical analysis does play a big part as well. I wouldn't focus on that primarily because I think being a long-term investor in cryptos is smarter because you don't know the path, but you know the destination if you do your research on it. Yeah. All right. Next up, Harsh. Hey, Harsh. And Harsh, thank you so much. God bless you. 6 months ago, you recommended I watch the movie The Three Idiots, which is life-changing. I recommend everybody watch it. It's a great movie. Yeah. So Harsh said, please explain free cash flow. Yeah, absolutely. So what happens is this. Companies, they have financial statements. There's the income statement, the cash flow statement, and the balance sheet. The balance sheet just tells you what you own and who owns your stuff. The income statement tells you how much money you make minus expenses. But the income statement is a lie. It's not real because a lot of the expense items you list aren't money-based, like depreciation. So net income on the income statement is not a true reflection of the amount of cash you made during that quarter or year, whatever it is. And so there's another financial statement called the cash flow statement, which basically looks at the income statement and the balance sheet itself and determines how much cash you have every month, right? Or every quarter or so, the increase. In fact, if I just gave you an income statement and a balance sheet, you can use Microsoft Excel to automatically create a cash flow statement, which is one of the many tools I provide my MBA students with in my MBA Degree Program. And so cash flow, the amount of cash you have after each quarter, year, month, whatever it is from the cash flow statement. And so people call it free cash flow as well. And what a lot of investment bankers do and investment analysts is they'll actually analyze how much cash the company's going to make every quarter, month, year, whatever it is, from looking at the cash flow statement or a simplistic version of the income statement modified a bit. And every year the cash they make, they call free cash flow. And then what they do is they take all the money they think they can make every year into the future, and then they discount it into today's terms using a discount rate or a weighted average cost of capital. And using that weighted average cost of capital and discounting all the future cash you make will tell you how much the company should be worth today. Okay. Next up, I got Carol, who wrote, I'm following you since last year, and I love you. No stranger. You wrote here, I'll check. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the support, everybody. I appreciate it. Okay. Next up, Darius wrote, oh, it's a message for Harsh. Okay, good. And then L. Greg, I wrote, Chris, how is the mining crypto market going in the next 2 years on your point of view? Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I'm still mining Ethereum. I'm doing it right now as we speak. But one of my amazing MBA students, Peyton, told me that I won't be able to mine Ethereum anymore after this December. But I'll show you. If you're curious about this, let me go here. All right, I'll go to Haroun Education Ventures /crypto. You can go there with me if you want, all lowercase crypto. And I'll show you my mining computer. It's right here. It's running upstairs. It's in Dylan's room now. It's currently mining. I'm going to get a payout really soon. So this is Ethereum, okay? And basically, I'm mining Ether, which is part of the Ethereum platform. And what happens is after I get 0.2 of an Ether, then I'll get $700, whatever it is, sent to me. And the way that it's going to be sent to me is going to be sent to my Coinbase account to my public key, which is right here. You never disclose what your private key is. That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah. And for a science fair, Dylan, we built a computer and he did well, and all the other parents probably hated me. Yeah. Okay. But it's in his room. And my kid, it's so funny, man, because my kids, this is kind of an older picture. Dylan, he's in the middle. He's actually, he's 12 now. But he'll borrow my stuff. And then after a while, it becomes his. Like he'll say, my crypto machine, and it is his. Yeah, you know it is. All right. You're most welcome, Harsh. All right, next up, Nice Horse wrote, hey, Chris, you make me happy. That's it. No questions today. Thank you. Thank you, Nice Horse. Appreciate it. First time I've seen you on the call. Hope you join us again. You put a smile on my face. Thank you. And I'm smiling because I have an amazing platinum student that graduated last year. Her name is Eileen Deo Gracias. Beautiful last name. Deo Gracias means thank God. She's from the Philippines, but she lives currently in Atlanta. And she bought a company. And she was doing a deep audit on it based on the stuff I taught her. And she realized that the company she bought owns a horse. So she owns a horse now. So Nice Horse. Thank you. Yeah. And the best way to understand options is to think of a horse. Okay. So basically, if you go to a horse race and you bet on a horse, right? Say you spend, I don't know, like a buck and you spend a buck, this is fake money, but you spend a buck to buy a ticket at a horse race. Well, if the horse wins the race, you make a lot more money. If the horse loses the race, you just lose that dollar. That's what options is. That's basically the way it works. And if the horse is very, very fast, then it costs you more to buy that ticket sometimes to bet on that horse. The same thing when it comes to options. If the option is very, very volatile, meaning the stock it's based on, fast like a horse, it costs you more money to buy that option. Yeah. Okay. Christina wrote, Professor Chris, my favorite part of your 5 concentrations in the MBA program is personal growth. It's life-changing skills. Thank you, Christina. You're the best. I appreciate it. And thank you so much also for working with me on the graduation. You're doing a great job, and I'd be lost without my students. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Evangeline, good to see you. First time seeing the call. I hope you join us again. Wrote, where can we learn more about options trading? You mentioned earlier, do you have a course on it? Yeah, it's coming out very, very soon this year. And what I'm going to do is after I get through all the questions today, I'm actually going to go through just an early release of exactly how I'm going to be teaching you options, and we'll price an option live together as well. We'll do all this together. It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah. All right. And I'll do that in a couple of minutes once we run out of questions, if we do. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Rose, who's another one of my amazing MBA students. She graduated from the Platinum Program last year. She was head of the yearbook last year. This year's head of the yearbook is Christina. Great to see you, Rose. So Rose wrote here, can you please explain SPAC more? I see more companies going public now with SPAC deals. Yeah. So what I recommend doing, Rose, if you want, I did a big case study on it. If you go to my website here and just do a search on SPAC, and you'll learn much more about it. I don't like SPAC as much as IPOs. And I explain why in this video. Thanks. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. John wrote, so I'm still very new here. I see you have a Udemy MBA course and another MBA course on your website, ? Yeah. Yeah, so there's a course I made like 5 years ago called an entire MBA in one course. It's 7.5 or 8 hours long. And the MBA program I have, which you can learn more about at this link, it's more than 300 hours. So there's 3 versions of it. There's Silver, which is on demand. You can start today. It's 300 hours. Watch it whenever you want to. You get access to it forever. Then there's Gold and Platinum. And Gold and Platinum contain Silver, plus much more. In Gold, you get access to a couple hundred hours of live Q&A with me after each lesson. And in Platinum, you get all that stuff, plus several hours of one-on-one confidential meetings with me over Zoom. Yeah. And you can always go to my website to learn more. And the next gold and platinum class starts in January. Yeah, And so this will be the third year we're doing it. It's been a lot of fun. And I usually start it in December, but I'm starting this year, the next one in January. It starts in January, ends in December. It's 1 year. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, I got Mark, who goes by the name Satones. He's one of my amazing MBA students in the Platinum program. He's from Detroit, and he's creating a business model right now that is so forward-thinking, he would make Elon Musk proud. His business model is all about mining rare minerals, etc., on asteroids. It's pretty cool, and and he's mentioned it to me at the perfect time because the movie Dune is coming out, or the new version of Dune, a better version. Yeah, and it's all about that too. Great to see you. And so Mark wrote, "Hello, brother. Great to see you on Thursday. Can we talk about the plan on Zoom?" Yeah. And let me know which plan you're talking about, because what we can do if you want is I can go through your business plan in a lot more detail during MBA office hours for Gold and Platinum students today at 11:15. I'll do the entire 2-hour call with you to discuss that business plan if you want to. Thank you. All right. Next up, Burkai said, "Hey, Chris, hope you're all fine. What do you think of SPACs? Do you find them trustful? Thanks." Yeah. So you can go to my, I'll answer this because I've had 2 questions on it. 2 data points makes a trend. You can go to my website and watch that video if you want, but let me sum it up really quickly. Okay. So basically, an IPO, we know what it is. You invest in a company, it goes public. And the government basically makes you file a lot of paperwork and a lot of legal stuff before an IPO because they want to protect the public from getting scammed. A SPAC is like an IPO, but you can do it really, really quickly, and you don't have to file as much paperwork. Therefore, it hasn't been as fully vetted from a due diligence perspective like when investment bankers work on IPOs. Yeah. Okay. All right. But I like IPOs much better. All right. Next up, I've got here Mike. Mike wrote, "Hey, Chris, will the options course and real estate investing course be included in the MBA program?" Absolutely. So if you signed up to the MBA last year, year before, this year, next year, whatever, you're going to get everything I ever add to it forever. And I'll send out mass emails to everybody so that it keeps growing. And if there's something that helps people in business a lot, a new technology, it hasn't been invented yet, what I'll do is I'll add that to the course in the future as well. Because when I look at my kids, for example, it's fascinating because the way that they're going to communicate with their friends in business when they get older has not been invented yet. And their jobs have not been invented yet. When I was their age, my job right here, my passion, I should say, wasn't invented. And so the bottom line, the reason I mention all that is because if there's anything relevant from a technology perspective, and I'm going to start teaching programming soon in the MBA program, if there's anything relevant from a tech or business perspective or social media perspective that emerges, that helps you take your career to the next level, I'm going to learn it and I'm going to teach it. Yeah. And you'll get all that for free forever. Yeah. And I used to be a programmer 8 million years ago as well. C++, Java, JavaScript as well. I don't like object-oriented stuff though, like Java and C++. I like visual. All right. Next up, I've got Mark Satones, who wrote, "Yes, the business plan. Thank you. Yeah. We'll definitely go through that, brother. Yeah, in a lot of detail together today during MBA office hours. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. All right. Greg popped up here. A question. A couple more questions. So Greg said, Greg said, Chris, with the current world situation, people are coming back to local and ethical consumption. Is it contrary to the principle of the global business and economy? What are the growing sectors?" Yeah. So I did a vlog on this a couple of weeks ago. You can search on it if you want, on how Walmart and Amazon are destroying small businesses. And there's a bit of a pushback now as well, because what happens is, Walmart will open up between, 3 or 4 small towns in America, for example. And what happens is people that own stores in those small towns, they can't compete. And so eventually those 4 towns go bankrupt and they're ghost towns, and then Walmart leaves. It's like a hurricane. It's awful. And so there is kind of a movement now to buy local. And last thing I'll say in this is that if you ever go to a store and it's a small store owned by a family, don't ever use American Express because they get screwed on credit card fees. Try not to use credit cards at all. Try to use cash if you can. Yeah. I always support local and ethical businesses too. Yeah. Like I'll never invest in Facebook as a long, again, because of that. Yeah. Because of ethics. Yeah. All right. Let's see. All right. Next up, I've got nice horse. Said asteroids ? As in the ones hurling through space asteroids. Those asteroids, simply amazing. It is great. It is so cool. I love it. It's kind of like years ago, Elon Musk talked about colonizing Mars. And people are like, what? But he's so forward thinking. It's brilliant. Just like Mark, one of my MBA students who goes by the name Satone's here. Very cool. Yeah. And you gotta, Wayne Gretzky was very successful. And he was asked why he was successful as a hockey player. And he said it's because he didn't skate to where the puck is, but rather he skated to where the puck is going to be. And basically what that means when it comes to investing is you want to invest in companies that people are going to like. If you invest in companies everyone already likes today, there's not that many incremental or new investors to buy that stock, for example, and push it higher. You got to have the foresight to look out longer term. And that's why whenever I tell my students to value companies, the bigger picture is instead of looking at price to earnings based on this year's earnings, the bigger picture is you look at earnings in 10 years. 10 years. And that way, you're very long-term focused and you don't get seduced into buying or selling a stock because it's cheap on this year's earnings, which are irrelevant. It's all about longer-term earnings. That's what matters most. And that's one of the many things I teach in my MBA program. All right, next up, I got Marin, who's one of my amazing students in my MBA program. She's from Kenya originally. She lives in the United Kingdom, and she has two unbelievable business models. And we're going to profile one of them very, very soon. Yeah. She just set up her Shopify store. It's been a lot of fun. I'm not going to say what it is, though, yet. So Marin wrote here, hey, Chris and everyone. Hope you're all well. Likewise. Always great to see you. Always great to see you. Okay. Next up, and you know what's funny, Marin, is you asked me, remember last week we did a one-on-one call, and you want to put a video in the background. And that was actually what I talked about in the next class, too. Remember I showed you the background on my website and stuff. The Lord works in mysterious ways. It was pretty cool. All right, next up, Abdullah wrote, hey, Chris, I'm a finance major. Do you think learning data science is helpful for someone like me? Because I've heard Python and R is increasingly used in finance. Yes, it is a huge deal. It's a massive, massive deal. Yeah. Anytime you can use process automation or technology to save you money or to help you decide or make decisions quicker, it's a worthwhile investment. And I will be teaching Python at some point as well. And I will tie that into the MBA degree program. Absolutely. And when I used to work in venture capital, I invested in a lot of private companies that were focused on AI, including Palantir, which is public now. I don't own it anymore, but I owned it when it was private. It's going to be a massive, massive market. And those artificial intelligence-based algorithms can make you a fortune, and it can help you from a competitive weapon perspective to beat your competition. So, for example, Palantir. The first investor in Palantir was the U.S. government's, and I partnered with them before, the U.S. government's CIA's venture capital company called InQtel. And InQtel, they call it that Q because James Bond, they love that stuff. It's government. And so InQtel invested, I invested, Peter Thiel invested, all that stuff in Palantir. And Palantir software, it was used by the United States government to find Osama bin Laden. And without Palantir, they would not have found him. And so what Palantir is it's basically an artificial intelligence-based company that looks at a lot of data and finds patterns, pattern recognition. So, and Palantir is used also for financial services companies to find security vulnerabilities, etc. It's based on AI. Yeah, and you can learn all that stuff online too, Abdullah. You can take a course at Udemy, for example, on Python or R. Yeah. All right. And then Myron said, Chris, looking forward to joining class office hours. Yeah, thank you. Very cool. Next up, we got Alex P. Keaton. Alex P. Wrote, what technology do you think businesses are using more, Tableau or Microsoft Power BI? Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. I know a lot about both. So Tableau was founded by Christian Tableau. And it went public in the summer of 2012. I participated, and before they went public, Morgan Stanley's investment bankers brought Christian to meet with me, and they asked for feedback on how he presents. The guy's amazing. He's incredible. And then Tableau, the ticker was Data, DATA, was bought by Salesforce. So they get more distribution channels. So my money is probably, it's a tough call because Tableau is so easy to use. It's really intuitive. You can download, millions of lines of data from a database, and within a couple of minutes, be able to slice and dice and make pretty charts and understand from a BI perspective trends within the company. The thing that, and I'm sure Microsoft looked at buying Tableau, and I'm shocked they didn't because Tableau is based in Seattle, right beside Microsoft's Redmond, Washington State headquarters. I'm sure they looked at it closely. They should have bought it before Salesforce. They really, really should have. Yeah. But Microsoft has their own product called Power BI. Which is based on a lot of technologies they developed over the year from a software development perspective. I don't like it as much as Tableau. It's fun to use. If you start off using Excel and you use pivot tables and all that fun stuff and filters and drop downs and developer tools in the menu there, then it's easy to move on to Power BI. It's hard, man, because Microsoft's got a massive distribution channel and they have so many corporations signed up to their subscription service for corporate software tools. I'd say they're probably using Power BI a bit more just because Microsoft has that massive global footprint. But I think that Tableau is a better product. Yeah. All right. Next up, John wrote, hey, Chris, I want to pursue my passion, and I want to be like Hans Zimmer or Jeremy Soule from the gaming world. Can I use business training to be my backbone in the music industry? Yeah, absolutely. And you can take my MBA degree program if you want, because I teach it from a generic perspective, so it's applicable to all countries and all types of businesses. In fact, in the third of 4 semesters, I have what's called a venture capital boot camp, and it's based on my experience working in venture capital. And during the third semester in the venture capital boot camp, what I do is I teach you how to start a company, how to write a business plan, how to raise money, etc. And most people that start a business don't write a business plan. And failing to plan is planning to fail. And so I teach all that stuff in the program. Yeah. And I'm a big Hans Zimmer fan as well. And if anybody is from Germany, I think Julian is from Germany. He's on the call right now. Thank you for Hans Zimmer. Yeah. All right. Next up, Mike said, I was reading that the United States government was looking into creating a digital currency. It's true. It's true. So basically what happened was the Treasury Department of the United States, they got MIT to do a white paper on it earlier this year. So they're looking into it. They certainly won't be the first to do it. They're kind of watching to see how El Salvador implodes or opposite of that. And I think what El Salvador is doing is a little bit, it's a little controversial, man. Kind of testing a new technology on the backbone of their infrastructure. I think the U.S. will do it longer term. But the thing is, and this here is fake money, and this here is not fake money. This here, what you're looking at, it's a dollar bill, of course. But this is from the year 1933. It hasn't changed much because monopolies don't have to change when you have a lot of power, oligopolies as well. But if crypto starts taking a lot of share away from the US dollar, so to speak, from a fiat currency cannibalization perspective, then I think the US government will be forced to adopt some sort of way to make their paper-based currency digital and much more secure. Yeah. And so your follow-up question here is, do you think at some point the United States and other countries will replace our current currency system with digital? Yeah. So the way I think about this, as I think about with all investments, is I ask myself this basic question. In 5, 10, 20, or 50 years, is this new thing I'm looking at going to be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? So are cryptocurrencies and digital payments going to be more relevant in 5, 10, 15, 25, 50 years? Yes. Will the U.S. eventually see some sort of competition and cannibalization from cryptos? Yes. Do I like asking myself questions and answering in the affirmative? Yes. So I do think the U.S. government will do it eventually, but they certainly won't be one of the early adopters. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, John wrote, Chris, those are some huge props. Oh, that's right. With this thing, it's massive. Dude, I have so many props. And the way I'm teaching options, I'm using an insane number of props as well because it's visual. And for anybody that gives a presentation at work or over Zoom, please use a prop. Because what happens is when we were kids at show and tell, we remembered the things people brought in to present on. We don't remember what they said, and we certainly don't remember what the teacher said. But we're very visual. And what you can do is go to eBay and you can buy an old prop, right, if you want to prove a point and make it interesting and engaging, and then sell it back on eBay. So it's like a 5% rental fee. It works, I promise you. And I teach all that in my program as well. All right, moving on to L. Greg, who wrote, Chris, are you planning to do a class project in other countries as you did in Africa? I have an idea of a place. Yeah. So I'm trying to, my mission is to build, one school every single year, and eventually to get Elon Musk through Starlink to provide free internet access. And it's all based on my TEDx talk I gave in 2016 on my forecast on what the future of education is going to look like and how it can solve all problems. You can go back and watch online my TEDx talk if you want. But yes, I'm going to be doing it in every country. And I want to have many in every country as well, because I think education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. And Malala, who's my hero, and I will meet her one day. And I promise you I'll have her on this webcast one day. I don't know how, but I'll get it done. Malala said, with guns, you can kill terrorists. With education, you can kill terrorism. And so I don't believe in sending troops overseas to fight wars we can't win or understand. I believe that the longer-term solution is education. And I think that there's going to be millions of people that rise up all over the world, millions of Malalas, so to speak, that change society from within by teaching online. Yeah. All right. Yeah, and L. Greg said Power BI is more user-friendly. Yeah. All right, cool. And I remember I used to use a product called Power Builder years ago, back in the 90s. Yeah, I remember that. I know it's different from what you're talking about. All right, next up we got Janice. Janice, which is also one of the best mutual funds on the planet, based in Colorado. Great growth investors there. But Janice wrote here, hey, Chris, I'm a computer science student in Germany, and I want to live and work in the United States as a data scientist directly after I get my bachelor's degree. Do you have any advice for me? Yeah, absolutely. So I did a vlog recently on how to move countries. And if your goal is, and I don't think you have to be in the United States to work in tech. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are now. Just given COVID, we proved to the world, everybody has, that you can do anything remotely. My employees are spread out all over the place. You don't have to be in the Bay Area. In fact, I think that buying farmland or land far away from cities is a great investment, because I think in the future, you don't have to be in big cities. And if the internet was invented first, we would still have offices in big cities, much less so. So I don't think you have to come here or go anywhere. I think you can do it from your house, anywhere in the world. But if you wanted to, here's what you can do. And I'll answer this in a generic way that applies to everybody. If your goal is to move to country X, a great way to do it is as follows. In your current country you live in, join a company whose headquarters are in country X, and in your current country working at that company, do extraordinarily well for 5, 10, 15 years, and you'll get promoted a lot, and eventually you'll get promoted to a level like vice president or senior vice president or executive vice president. And in order to advance, the company's going to ask you to relocate to the mothership in country X. And they'll pay for all the visa requirements and all that stuff, right? There's a reason why these companies are successful. They get the best talent from all over the world. That's what I recommend. All right. Next up, Dinesh said, any tips on how to apply to YCombinator? Yeah, I did a vlog on this recently. Go to my website and do a search on incubators, and I run through all of it. So there's there's three big incubators that people look at to get into if they want to grow their business. One of them is YCombinator. People also call it YC. It was founded in 2005, based here in the Bay Area, but it's now online. The other one is 500 Startups, okay, which is also here in the Bay Area, but it's online. And there's Techstars, which is based in Colorado. And there's Plug and Play Tech Center, a fourth one as well. And go to their websites, they'll tell you exactly how to apply. The first three companies I mentioned, the chance of getting accepted is between 1% and 3%. It's tough, but you can keep reapplying over and over and over again. Rinse, lather, repeat till you're accepted. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, Sarlik said, and by the way, Dinesh, one last thing. In the third semester of my MBA program, I do a venture capital boot camp. And that's based on my work experience investing in companies from 500 startups when I worked in BC, et cetera. And I've done a lot of incubator type stuff as well. I've guest lectured on panels and keynotes at Stanford, Graduate School of Business, et cetera. So all that stuff I've learned from the industry, I teach you in the third semester, which is somewhat similar to YCombinator, Techstars, whatever the other ones are, 500 startups, except I don't give you money. Usually you get about 100 grand from those three aforementioned companies, and they own at least 10% of your company. Yeah. Yeah, I have a policy. I don't invest in any of my students' businesses. Yeah, it's a conflict of interest. Yeah. All right. Next up, I've got, hold on a second. All right, next up, Sarthik wrote, hey, Chris, my brother is coming from Canada. I'm Canadian, represent. What souvenir should I tell him to bring back to India? Yeah. Oof. Most people do maple syrup. I still think it's the funniest thing that in Canada, we took buckets, attached it to trees, and got sugar out of it, and we put it on our pancakes. It's pretty cool. But that's what I probably do is maple syrup. Yeah. But my favorite thing in Canada is Tim Hortons coffee. You can bring back a tin of that. There's also other Canadian things like Coffee Crisp, which is a great chocolate bar. Or even there's something called ketchup chips. I know it sounds out there, but they're good. It's Canadian. All right. Next up, Sarlik said, have you watched Squid Games, Chris, on Netflix? It's from South Korea. Yes, I have. Yeah. I've started getting into it. It was hard at first because of the subtitles, whatever, and the English that it wasn't their native tongue, whatever. But I got into it. I like it, actually. I'm watching it. I'm watching it now. Yeah. And my youngest son loves it too. Right. And I was like, dude, I don't know if you can watch that. He said, Dad, look at the beginning. It's like hopscotch. Yeah. I think I'm on episode 3 now. Yeah. Okay. All right. Christina wrote here, Netflix new Squid Games is amazing. I binge watched it when it came out. It's still the #1 projected most watched streaming series on Netflix. Yeah, yeah. And that's what I do. Usually when I watch new Netflix shows, because a lot of them are crap, I look at top 10. Yeah, yeah. That's what I do. Yeah. All right. But most of my spare time, coming very soon, later this month, is going to be spent playing Age of Empires 4. It's my favorite video game, or one of my favorites. Yeah. Oh, what I'm also doing on my PS5 is I'm playing God of War. It came out in 2018. It's like the 7th or 8th version of it or something. I never played it before. I thought it was just like Mortal Kombat, but there's storyline to it. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I did that on PlayStation Plus. I'm playing that now. And there's a new God of War coming out next year by Santa Monica Studios. Yeah, a new one next year. Yeah. All right. And Sarlik said, I'm currently learning Python from Angela Yu. Good. She's awesome. And I did a Zoom call with her recently as well. She's amazing. Dude, she's so multidimensional. I met her the first time in Berlin in 2019 at a conference. She's great. She was a doctor, but she's more passionate about teaching, and she has a British accent, so she speaks gooder than I do. She's amazing. And she did this Instagram live event recently where she was taking questions from the audience while baking this unbelievable cake. She's incredible. She's great. Yeah. Her courses are much better than mine will ever be. Yeah. All right. Next up, I've got Rose wrote, it's so good I just started watching. That's right, with the Squid Games, yeah. And an MT wrote, well, don't you think we lack more jobs compared to education? Don't you think? Let me know what you mean by that, because I think anybody can skill up online very quickly to reinvent themselves at any age. Yeah, thank you. But please tell me what you mean so I can humbly answer your question. Thanks. Moving on to Dinesh, who wrote, what do you think about Netflix adding games to its app? Do you think it will help them survive the competition? Yeah, well, I think Netflix will survive even if they don't get into that market. But I think longer term, what's going to happen is watching television programs is going to kind of merge with video games. So it's kind of like choose your own adventure. And they try to do that with, I think it's called Black Mirror, the show, a couple of years ago, where you could click to choose whatever ending you wanted. Didn't work out for them yet, but it's something they're focused on. Now, when it comes to streaming games, it makes sense for them to be able to enter that market as well longer term. Because Microsoft, it's a gaming company, and they've got into the streaming movie business. And it's the same technology platform, so to speak. And I think Microsoft is the best position of all companies in gaming. Because eventually what's going to happen is, just like you buy a computer and play Microsoft games or games on Microsoft platforms, you buy an Xbox, same thing. And on televisions in the future, which is starting to happen, there will be a Microsoft app, an Xbox app. So you can play your games on any TV streamed live, or you can play them on your Xbox or PC and remember where you left off, like when you watch Netflix on multiple devices. Yeah. But it makes sense for Netflix to get into that. And I did a lot of work from a venture capital perspective back in 2009 on a company called OnLive, founded by Steve Perlman. I almost invested, but I didn't. But I did a lot of research on it. And basically OnLive was this company that allowed you to stream games and play them, but they were hosted on other servers. But the problem was at the time that it's basically the expense was $1,000 per player, and you had to be close to where the servers were. Well, now that we have Web 3.0 and broadband is truly ubiquitous, it's becoming reality now. And so if you want to do a search on OnLive and their business model from 2008, 2009, because I think that's where Netflix is going longer term. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right, hold on a second. All right, next up, MT said, what are your views about $1 trillion platinum coin made by the U.S. government? Yeah, I don't know much about that, but I do know that the United States government, I learned this from Peyton, one of my amazing MBA students, the United States government has increased the amount of money they have out there by 30 or 40% in the past 2 years or so. Yeah. So why is the dollar not crashing? Because every country is doing this. Yeah, because of COVID. Yeah. And it's all relative. The value of a currency is all relative to how you value other currencies. And if other currencies increase supply materially as well, then it's a moot point. You know, all ships rise or fall, so to speak. Valuation with FX is all relative. Yeah. Okay. And El Greg wrote, like always, this call is full of passion and learning. Thank you. It's all because of my wonderful students and their wonderful questions. Thanks. Moving on to Khaled, and I have a student in my MBA Platinum program named Khaled as well. He's from Egypt originally, but he lives in South Carolina. He's a great guy. And yes, I did say DJ Khaled a couple times. Yeah, I got to stop doing that. Another one. And so Khaled wrote here, hi Chris, thank you for educating many of us. Thank you. Well, when one teaches, two learn. From your side, it's worth to wait 5 to 10 years to relocate to another country, or applying to work directly for the country, for the company while the pandemic situation. And then you've got a follow up here. And then you wrote, what's your, yeah, okay. So yeah, I think that strategy works. And I think we're seeing the death of distance, right? And that's what COVID has kind of done, to the extent that you can work from anywhere you want to work from. And so I think you can work for any company you want to in any country if you're good at what you do online. And to get a taste of how to do this and what it's all about, you can go to Fiverr.com, that's Fiverr.com, or you can go to Upwork.com, upwork.com, because a lot of people do freelancing gigs on those two aforementioned websites. And it doesn't matter where you're located. And I hire them a lot, especially Fiverr. Yeah. All right. Next up, John wrote, with all these work-at-home jobs, what will happen to all of the big empty offices? Will some convert to mixed-use residential? Brilliant. Yeah, I think there will be rezoning at some point, right? Just for obvious reasons. I think so. But you have to get government officials from a municipal or city-based perspective to rezone something from office to residential. That's smart. I haven't heard that before. I think you're right. Yeah. But it's so moronic, man. Like, if you think about it, if you take a step back, you're like, okay, I drive to work an hour each day, hypothetically speaking. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for my health because I could be exercising. It's bad for my family life because I'm not around my kids. It's just moronic. It just doesn't make any sense. And so I think if the internet was invented first, we really wouldn't have as many offices. Yes, it's good to be there in person every now and then, to grip and grin or whatever it is, water cooler talk. But I think it's a highly illogical system. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like if the internet was invented first, would we have newspapers? Of course not. Yeah. And I think what COVID has done, it's been unfortunate, but it's kind of brought forward my vision of education and the education world 10 or 20 years, right? Things have really taken off in terms of online education. And it's also brought forward my vision of the world from a work perspective, 10 or 20 years. I think in hindsight, we're going to look back at, this awful period in human history and say it was a turning point in terms of, big cities went into secular decline starting then. Yeah. And that's why I'm a big proponent of buying farmland. Yeah. And I did a vlog on that recently too. All right. Next up, Vidansh said, of course he's from Canada. Yeah. I love Canada. I miss my home, man. And I'm so sad about my Blue Jays, man. It kills me. We lost. We swept the Orioles. We still lost. And I remember back in 1992 when I lived in Canada, when the Blue Jays won the World Series, right? The World Series, 2 countries. And I teased my American buddies. I was like, see? Hey, the World Series, America's pastime is now in Canada. And my very witty American friends said, so what, Haroun? Your Americans beat our Americans. Yeah. Breaks my heart my Blue Jays lost, but it's okay. They'll do better next year. All right, next up, Khaled said, what's your opinion about developing countries in SEA that can have more good prospects in the energy business? Thank you. What does SEA stand for? I'm so sorry. I don't know what that means. The older I get, the better I was. Hey, Fred, how are you? Fred Mendoza. He's one of my amazing platinum students. He's helped me a lot. He's a star options trader. He does a lot of complicated stuff. He's helped me a lot with my options course. He's a good dude as well. He works in the healthcare industry, based in the DC area, but he does a lot of stuff in real estate as well. He's brilliant. He's going to be a giant. I'm not an arrogant guy, but I'm a great judge of character, and I know Fred is going to be massive. Yeah. All right. Sadiq said, I've watched your TEDx talk. It was so amazing that I purchased your courses on Udemy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. That was a fun talk. Yeah. All right. And then Don said, boy, Sarlik wrote, God of War is so good. Yeah. It is good. It is good. I can't believe for years I didn't bother playing it because I thought it was just like Mortal Kombat, like Super Smash Brothers or something, which is one thing I can't get into. I don't know why. But God of War is incredible. Yeah. And dude, if you play that game, the way, maybe that's why you're saying boy. The way he talks to his son, he calls him boy all the time. I tease my son, Andrew. I'm like, Andrew, I'm going to start raising you like that guy. Yeah. That guy doesn't waste any words. All right. And then Sarlik said, I would love if you could get Angela Yu to do this webcast someday. You know what, dude? Maybe I'll ask her. I will ask her to be a guest star, so to speak. Yeah. Oh, she's amazing. Yeah. All right. And then MT, I asked for clarification because I'm an old man on your question. And then you wrote here, you're an old man and you're dumb. No, you didn't write that. Sorry. You wrote, well, I meant, don't you think there are a lot of degree holders who are jobless? Then how investing more in education will help when even educated people are becoming jobless? That's a great question. So the problem with traditional education is they teach us stuff you can't apply in the real world, right? And so as I look at MBA programs in general, and I have an MBA from a half-decent school, as I talk to all my buddies that graduated from Harvard Business School and all these other schools, I ask them, did they teach you the most important things in business to help you become successful? Like how to network? No. How to sell? No. How to get a job? No. How to talk to customers? No. How to manage your own money? No. They teach you how to manage other people's money. And ask anybody who just graduated from business school, did you write a business plan? Do you know how it works? Do you know how to start a company now? No. And so the most important life skills aren't taught in school. Like, why do we go to university? To learn skills that can make us more successful in life. It's antiquated. You know, and the whole notion of paying $100,000 for a 4-year undergraduate education where you have 13 hours of class a week and you don't learn stuff that's applicable in the real world seems like a waste of money. And I feel like my kids are the last generation that feel like they have to go to university. And my son, Andrew, he's applying to universities, but I didn't pressure him at all. If he wants to do it, he can. Completely up to him. Yeah. All right. Next up, Sadiq wrote here. Give me 1 second. Sadiq wrote, I mean, like Elon Musk says, you can have an MBA and still be a moron. I don't remember the exact words. I just paraphrased it a bit. Yeah, I saw that quote, and I talk about that actually in some of my videos. Yeah. He basically says, the more MBAs you hire from traditional schools, the less successful your company will become. Yeah, it's moronic. Yeah, he's right though. He's right. The way it's taught, and it's not just Elon Musk. You know, Peter Thiel also has similar comments. You know, so does Sheryl Sandberg. There are also great quotes about how useless an MBA is, you know, from Seth Godin, who has a Stanford MBA. You know, same thing with Scott Cook, the founder of Intuit. He has a Harvard MBA. He says it's a waste and all that crap as well. Yeah. Next question is, why can't residential areas be near office areas? Yeah, it's just a zoning thing. Like governments like to zone. It's like when you play SimCity, which I love, I still play. Governments either zone industrial, commercial, or residential. And they don't mix them up together too much because you wouldn't want to be located in a residential area next to a factory with pollution, etc. Yeah. But I think that will change. And then Mark wrote, the headline is, the Biden administration could sidestep Mitch McConnell's refusal to pay America's bills by minting $1 trillion platinum coin. Okay, that's what you're talking about. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. Yeah. Okay, and then Khalid said SEA stands for Southeast Asia. Yeah, I should probably know that since I did a minor with my MBA in Asian Studies, and I worked in Japanese equities for years. Yeah, don't take my MBA because I'm out of touch. So I'm going back to your question. You wrote, what's your opinion about developing countries in Southeast Asia that can have have good prospects in energy business? Yeah, I don't know too much about the energy business when it comes to Southeast Asia. Yeah. But what I will say in Southeast Asia, probably my favorite place to invest right now and over the next couple of decades is Singapore, because a lot of companies, for various reasons, are no longer opening their local headquarters in Hong Kong. And so I think Singapore is a good location. Yeah. All right. Hopefully I answered your question. If not, let me know, please. All right. Give me 1 second here. All right, if I missed any questions, just post it again, please. Okay. And then Don wrote, I think Sony bought them, Santa Monica Studios, right? They definitely have some sort of exclusive contract because it's only available on PlayStation, the games. Kind of like Naughty Dog Studios, yeah. Uncharted was so good, and The Last of Us Part 2, I had to play with the lights on because it scares the crap out of me. Yeah. All right. Next up, Mamadou said, hey, Chris, I hope you are doing fine with your family. Thank you. I'm doing great, and I hope you're doing well as well, and your family. Thank you. Okay. Next up, Dinesh wrote, if anyone is moving into Canada, does it make more sense to get a job in Toronto, even if it's more expensive, rather than getting a job in, say, Calgary, or it doesn't matter at all? It depends what industry you want to go. into. I think longer term, it's going to be irrelevant where you live. But the way it works in Canada is 95% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the U.S. border because it's warmer, but more importantly, because of commerce reasons. All the big cities in Canada, almost all of them, are within 100 miles of the U.S. border. But if you want to work in financial services, usually Toronto is the place to be, as the big six banks there are headquartered there. If you want to work in the energy sector, it makes sense to work in Alberta, Calgary, for example, because a lot of the great energy companies are there. And future growth prospects are in Fort McMurray, the heavy tar sands region of Canada, which only makes sense if the price of oil is over $80 per barrel. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up. All right, hold on a second, guys. All right, El Greg wrote, bye everyone, bye Chris, and stay all safe and passionate. Likewise, have a great weekend. God bless you. I'll see you next week. Thanks. May the force be with us. Yeah. All right. And there's supposed to be a new, the complete Star Wars saga, Lego video game coming out. It's supposed to be later this year. They keep delaying it. Yeah. We just did a case study in my MBA program on Lego and how they keep reinventing themselves. Yeah. All right. And then Zishan said, when will your MBA price go down? I'm waiting. Smiley face. Yeah. Next question. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So I have events every now and then. I don't know what my marketing folks have planned. I think what we're going to be doing, though, is if you're already a silver program owner, we're going to have a special event. I think it's the last week of this month, maybe first week of November, just for people in silver to see if they want to upgrade at a massive discount for the gold and platinum version, which starts in January. Stay tuned. All right. Oh, Peyton wrote, happy birthday to Christina. Christina, happy birthday. I didn't know that it was your birthday. Happy birthday. And I think we have a one-on-one today, my last slot at 3:10. Looking forward to chatting with you then. And tell Christian, your wonderful husband, who's also in the program, that I'm playing God of War now. Yeah, and Christian works at PlayStation, at Sony. Yeah, good guy. All right. Whoops. Hold on a second. Okay. And then I've got Kumar-san said, sir, how do you speak continuously for 3 hours? Yeah. I do a lot of blow. No, I don't. I don't do any cocaine. I never have. I never will. Ever. No, I don't. I do what I'm passionate about. Yeah. And the reason why I don't have a chair anymore is because earlier this year, people complained that I sounded tired. So I was like, and it wasn't just one person, it was multiple people. And so I was like, a couple of data points makes a trend. So I got rid of my my chair. There's no chair in my office. So I get my 20,000 steps every day, or I try to at least, on a treadmill. And this thing here that I'm standing on is a treadmill. So what you don't see, like when I do my one-on-one meetings, I'm walking a bit on this thing. But what you don't see actually is when I'm not live, I'm always walking on this thing. It's a little bit creaky. I got some WD-40 for it. So I go a maximum of 3.7 miles an hour on this thing. And I work all day on it. And I put my desk up higher so I can type this way as well. I know it looks ridiculous, but that's how I stay energetic and get a lot more done. Because you're taking in more oxygen to your brain. Let me turn off that squeaky thing. Yeah. But I do think that when you're doing what you love doing, you're much more productive and passionate about it as well. Yeah. All right. And then MT wrote, you're also a computer science engineer. Yeah. So I did, when I was an undergrad, I majored in management information systems. Then I went to work at Accenture for 4 years as a programmer, which I loved. Yeah. All right. Prince wrote, hey, Chris, I hope everything is well on that side. Likewise. Hope you're doing well. And one of my favorite baseball players growing up was Cecil Fielder. And he had a son named Prince Fielder, who was amazing. Yeah. And I remember I actually got to meet him when he was a kid, just through Cecil years ago. Yeah. All right. Next up, I've got MT who said, do you think houses are becoming smaller in the United States? Yeah. I think they're going to become bigger. And here's why. I think more people are going to realize that, hey, I don't have to live in the city or close to the city. I don't have to live in Brooklyn and get, a brownstone or whatever it is, a little townhouse. I can live in the middle of America or in farmland where it's cheaper to live, and I can work remotely using Zoom. So I think that, I think houses are going to get bigger longer term. And that's very bullish in the long run for companies like Lennar, ticker LEN, and KBH as well, ticker KBH, which I was short in size in '08. All right. Next up, Don wrote, thanks for everything, Chris. I'm a doctor, and I'm looking to dabble into foreign exchange trading. Will you be doing any courses on that topic? Yeah. So I do, in my MBA program, I do teach about general finance and technical analysis, which a lot of people use in FX. I have a vlog on it as well. But through my options course, which is coming out soon, if you understand the concepts of long and short puts and calls and hedging, etc., it might help you to better understand FX as well. It's very difficult to make a lot of money, though, as an FX trader. And the reason that rates go up and down and currencies go up and down quite often is because of geopolitical events and government announcements we can't forecast. We have no idea what saber rattling is going to be like in the future between DC and Beijing, or between Moscow and Riyadh when it comes to the price of oil, which tends to move a lot of currencies as well. We just don't know. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's tough. Okay. All right, and then Don wrote a thorough mindset, step-by-step, algo Buffett on Forex. Was it Warren Buffett there? Algorithm on it, yeah. All right, let me see here. Hold on one second. Let me get some water here. Okay. All right, next up, Dinesh wrote, and if I missed anybody, just paste it again, please. And by the way, if you type in an internet link, for some reason YouTube strips it out, I won't be able to see it. So Dinesh wrote, if anyone is moving into Canada, does it make more sense to get a job in Toronto, even if it's more expensive, rather than okay, I think that one was posted twice. Yeah. Next up, Julian wrote, Chris, how long did it take for your Chris Haroun Ventures to take off from the idea to your first customers? Yeah. So great question. And Julian graduated from my MBA program last year. He's from Sofia, Bulgaria, although he lives in Stuttgart, Germany. Great guy. So for me, I worked in venture capital, and during the evenings I would teach. And I actually taught in a bunch of universities, guest lectured at Stanford, Berkeley, et cetera, as well. But the most fun I had was when I was teaching students in East Palo Alto, where the high school graduation rate is 40%. And I joined the board of this company, or this charity called the Limo Foundation. And I would teach these students at night, et cetera. And then one day, I think it was in January of 2016, on a Saturday, I taught them, right? These poor kids with deadbeat fathers, no such thing as a deadbeat mother. But I was teaching these kids business, and I called it an entire MBA in one day. That was on a Saturday. And then on a Sunday, what I did was I put up a camera in my bedroom. And my wife said, honey, this is not happening. I'm like, no, I'm recording a course. I'm one stupid comment away from destroying my career, and you all know that, but I don't care. I put up a camera in my bedroom to record myself teaching an entire MBA in one day, what I taught them. And I put it on Udemy, and within a couple of days, I got lucky, whatever. And I didn't do it for money. I did it because it was fun. I wanted to help. It got written up in Business Insider and all that stuff. Yeah. So I'd say that, I'm not a 49-year-old overnight success, or I'm not an overnight success. I'm a 49-year overnight, a little bit of success guy. But it wasn't just that one moment. It was everything. Like for my kids, like I bought a camera, DSLR camera, take videos of them, and I edit it, and I send the videos back to Canada after my dad had his heart attack every day forever, because he said it helps his heart when he sees videos of them. And so I did that for years, video editing, teaching on the side, and then eventually I woke up one day at work and I was like, I told my partners, venture capital, I was like, guys, I'm just not feeling it anymore. And they said, oh, okay, just work from home. Don't worry. Just come in 1% of the time. That's cool. And then it just wasn't fair. And I said, this is something I have to do. This is what I was meant to do. All right. So next up, Nima wrote, hey, Chris, thank you so much for your great content. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. You wrote, I'm eagerly waiting for your real estate course. Do you have a release date in mind yet for it? Yeah. It's coming first half next year. Yeah. So I thought about it, man. It's kind of I don't want to rush it. And I read this quote by Miyamoto-san, who I got to meet one day. He's the brilliant dude at Nintendo who created Donkey Kong and Mario, Pikmin and stuff. And he said something along the lines of, a rushed game that's released is terrible forever. You can't ever re-release it again. It doesn't happen. Why not wait? And that really resonated with me. And I thought about Bill Gates too with Microsoft. Windows is usually a couple of years behind schedule when they release it. And so I thought to myself, I'm not gonna put out a crappy product. I want to take my time doing it. And also because of COVID, I couldn't travel to real estate areas and put that in the course as well. Like these buildings I bought in Southern Ontario. So I just want to wait next year. Yeah. And if you're in the MBA program, if you bought it before or in the future, you'll get all that stuff for free always. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, and then Christina's saying it's not my birthday. It was Isabella's birthday, your daughter recently. I remember you mentioned that. So maybe happy birthday to Bella. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, thank you for everything. God bless you all and your family. Thanks. I'll see you again and forever next week with new energy. I love it. Namaste. I love all those wonderful icons as well. Thank you. God bless. Have a great week, buddy. And then Don wrote, thanks for your answer, Chris. It's clear. My pleasure. Thank you. All right, moving on to Christina, who wrote, Chris, it's interesting that President Biden, I heard about this, they're doing a call, will meet the president of China for their first summit by the end of this year, virtual one, not in person. Yeah, it makes sense it's virtual. Yeah. So there's been some saber rattling going on, which it scares me with Taiwan. So there's a bunch of U.S. warships that have been sent over to Taiwan, and the United States is saying, look, Taiwan, it's in our best interest to protect them because it's a democracy and all that stuff. And I don't think anything will happen. I think it's basically just posturing on both sides. Yeah. But apparently there's been some issues of flights over Air Force, over Taiwan waters from China and stuff. But hopefully it's like kind of like the threat of nuclear war was awful. But the United States with Russia during the Cold War, we knew that the Russians were very logical in that they probably wouldn't launch first because they would know what would happen, that sort of thing. And the same thing with China, very logical. Unlike Al Qaeda, illogical. I won't go there, but I think everything will work out. Yeah. All right. Next up, MT wrote, do you think that the environment color has changed in the United States overall from bluish to yellowish? I haven't noticed that, but I noticed you spelled color the right way, like a Canadian or a Brit with a U in it. Yeah. But I know that, the current administration, the Biden administration is much more pro-environment than the previous administration, which is why they re-entered the Paris Accord. Yeah. Okay. And next up, Derego wrote, hey, Chris, between Eremenko's course and Angela Yu's course, both on data science and machine learning, which do you prefer I take? Yeah. I haven't seen Eremenko's, but I do know that Kirill is fantastic. I met him before. Great guy. He lives in Melbourne. He does a lot of data science stuff. Yeah. But if you want to learn basic programming, definitely, hands down, Angela Yu. Yeah. Or Rob Percival. And I met with Rob, actually. I helped him out a lot years ago. He came here. I introduced him to Kleiner Perkins, Sequoia, all these venture capital firms. And then I went to visit him in Cambridge, and he helped me with the Udemy stuff as well, just how to get up and running. Yeah, good guy. Cambridge. I went to the university there to check it out, and I saw Isaac Newton went there. I saw the tree where Isaac Newton invented gravity, because before then we floated. Sorry. All right. Next up, John wrote, I heard Elon is moving Tesla's headquarters to my state of resident, Texas. Yeah, don't mess with Texas. Yeah. I mean, taxes are just ridiculously high. And Elon actually had a house around the corner from me here in Hillsborough. He sold it recently. He's bailing on this state. And I don't blame him. Look, I love where I live, but sometimes I think of it as the left coast, right? Just taxes are too high. Yeah. So, yeah. But I understand why people are moving to Texas. Yeah. I want your tax code and some of your politics, please. Yeah. All right. Dinesh wrote, hey, Chris, I think you missed my question about moving to Canada the first time. That's why I pasted it again. Okay, no problem at all. Yeah, thank you. I remember I skipped over, because sometimes when people have questions that are part one, part two, I try to read all of that first. Yeah, thank you. Okay. MT wrote, yeah, did you leave your job because you had a fight with your boss? No. But I have left companies because I work for pricks. Now, most people I work for are great. And by the way, if you work for a jerk, good. I say it with love in my heart, because you can learn, number one, how not to manage people. And number two, that puts pressure on you in a good way to get out of there. Yeah. But I've been mistreated. I worked at Accenture, and there was an associate partner. I'll never mention where he's from, he's actually from the Orange County office, but you won't be able to narrow it down. But I remember one night, he was the mid-90s, whatever, 1995, October. I remember he asked me to print some database report at 10 p.m., and our client was Manulife. We were working on the merger of Manulife and Confederation Life, which just went belly up. And I tried, and I couldn't do it, and I didn't want to destroy the database. So I told him, I'm so sorry, I can't figure it out. And it was 10 o'clock at night. He looked at me and goes, it's because you're incompetent. And then he turned around, and he walked away. And I remember talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, I can't believe this guy did this. He's like Heather Locklear from Melrose Place, D&D advertising show I was watching at the time. Just a total prick. But I'm glad that happened, because it forced me to get out and do other things. Yeah. All right, moving on to Deepak, who wrote, hello, sir. Chris, please. I'm from India, and I'm influenced by you so much, the way you teach, and I'm full in favor of learning from real life. But the problem is that the company will accept a certificate. Yeah. Some companies, they're still in love with university degrees. It's changed though, I promise you. So the following companies are just a list of many that don't require a university degree to get a job there. IBM, Wells Fargo, Google, Apple, Facebook. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Yeah. Okay. And then Seek said, hey, Chris, I'm a commerce graduate, a Bachelor of Commerce, a BCom like me, and a Canadian final student, CA final student, which you wrote here is chartered accountant. It's similar to CPA in the US. However, I don't feel passionate about taxation and auditing. And there's part two. Let me get to it. I don't see your part two. Sorry. Yeah. So what I would say is this, okay? What you've learned from an accounting perspective, it's actually a good thing, because accounting is one of the few things in business that's not common sense. And it's basically at the epicenter of commerce is, accounting. If you don't understand numbers, you won't be able to scale your business, etc. And so with that in mind, you can move on to do something you're more passionate about. Now, because you work in the accounting sector in Canada, you can work for any big accounting firm there, like Deloitte, for example. And then you can transition over to the consulting side of Deloitte. Okay, same thing with KPMG and all the others, Ernst & Young, etc. They all have consulting divisions. So you can leverage what you know, get a job there in accounting, then transition to consulting. And I think you'll enjoy that more. Okay, Kumarson wrote, should we join college based on placement, campus interview? So yeah, I don't know how to answer that question properly, aside from this. If you're thinking about going to university because you want to get a job, right? Cool. However, what I recommend doing first, before considering an MBA, for example, is I want you to set up 100 informational interviews to try to change jobs. And if it works, then you don't need that MBA from that traditional school. And think of each interview that you do, all 100, as saving you $1,000. $1,000 per meeting times 100 is $100,000. That's the cost of an MBA from a traditional school. It's a ripoff. Okay, but you got to network a lot. And I teach you how to network on steroids in the first semester in the personal growth track of my MBA. And you can always learn more at this link here. Yeah. And I changed the lights in the background a bit here today too, from blue to this. Try something a little different. I felt there's too much blue. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, Sadiq said, I'm really confused as to what I should do. I've taken your complete financial analyst training investing course in the past, and it really got me excited about finance. However, I don't know what exactly I'm looking for. I feel like jumping from one thing to another. What should be my course of action? Yeah. It's hard, man. It's tough. And look, we're all going to reinvent ourselves over and over and over again until we find our passion and purpose in life, career-wise. So what I recommend doing is meet with a lot of people that work in different sectors. Okay, maybe different subsectors within finance, like people that work in banking or sales and trading or equity research or private wealth management. And meet with people in different sectors as well. Do a lot of informational meetings. And whatever seems most interesting to you, and don't just do it for the money. If you go into finance, you want to make a lot of money, you'll be miserable. Most people are miserable in finance. But set up these informational meetings and just kind of ask people what they do. And if you're passionate about what they talk about, if it sounds interesting, then pursue that. Yeah. And never just chase money, because if you chase money, you'll lose your dreams and your money. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail at least a couple times, then something wonderful happens. Your dreams come true and the money follows accidentally. It always does. Nobody has put their dent in the universe. From Steve Jobs, God bless him, to Jeff Bezos, to Oprah, anybody. Nobody has done it just for the money. They've done it because they love it. They've done it because they're passionate about it. They do it because they think with their heart first and their mind second. And they don't give a damn that they fail a lot. Like Oprah failed over and over and over again. She didn't give a damn. She didn't care what people thought. And you got to be the same way as well. Because in business, you only have to be right one time. All right, next up, MT wrote, is there any way to become a millionaire in 3 years? Yeah. It's tough. If you look at the time value of money, it usually takes a lot longer than that. And I teach you all these concepts in my MBA degree program. But as Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. Yeah. And I think the mentality you have in life is you want to spend what is left after saving instead of saving what is left after spending. And if you adopt that mentality in your life, then it's only a number of years until you eventually become a millionaire. And you can look at the time value of money. And if you buy your own place, if you can, it took me till my 30s. But if you buy your own place versus renting your whole life, if you buy your own place, you're saving over 50 years, $9 million. And I run through all the math in my courses as well. Yeah. The bottom line is use the mentality of spending what is left after saving instead of vice versa. All right, next up, Valens, how are you? Valens is from my my MBA program. He's originally from Indonesia. He graduated last year. He lives in New Zealand. Great guy. Good. It's been a while today. I hope you're doing well. So Valens wrote, hey, Chris, just dropping by to say hi. I haven't dropped by in a long time. It is so good to see you. And then Valens said, hope you and your family are healthy and everything is good. Likewise, God, I miss you. I hope you're doing well. All right, moving on to Mark, who's in this year's MBA program, Mark Satones. He wrote, in your real estate course, are you teaching commercial real estate investing? And he wrote, thanks a trillion. Yeah, I'm going to teach everything. I can't just Like the way I do it is I can't just do it half-assed. It's got to be all or none. It has to be completely everything. And so what I'll be doing when I add it to the MBA curriculum, that and many other things, including the options stuff this year, they're going to be set up as electives. Yeah. All right, next up, Julian, who's from Sofia, Bulgaria, but lives in Germany now. He graduated from my program last year. Good guy. He wrote, a startup from Berlin is trying to recruit me as their chief product officer. What are your thoughts on working in a startup? They've already recruited some serious people. Yeah. Okay, a couple things. Number one, if during the negotiations they tell you we want to hire you, but you have a choice. We can either give you a lot of cash and a little bit of stock, or a little bit of cash and a lot of stock. Always take a lot of cash. The reason I say this is most companies never make their employees a fortune by going public, etc. And if the company does incredibly well, they're going to give you more shares anyway through compensation. And make sure that your compensation is similar to the one you're currently making at your current company. Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah. But also do due diligence on these people as well, because it can be stressful in a startup. You work long hours. Make sure these are good people as well. And when you interview them, which is what you're doing when you're interviewing as well, it's a two-way thing. Go with your gut. Go with your gut a lot. And it's hard for me to explain that, but I think you know what I mean. Yeah. And you can also look at the quality of the venture capitalists investing in that company. If the venture capital firms that are investing in that company have been very successful in the past, if they're like Sequoia, Kleiner Perkins, Andreessen, et cetera, or Peter Thiel's Founders Fund, then that will probably tip you off that, hey, the probability of this company making it is a little bit better than normal. Yeah. And Julian, if you want, what you can do is this. Since you graduated as a platinum student last year, why don't you join us today at 11:15, okay, for the weekly 2-hour call for platinum and gold students on our MBA only office hours. And if you want, we can go into much more detail on that. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Dinesh said, Chris, did you hear about Facebook's whistleblower recently? I did. Yeah. And I read her article. It was New York Times last week and Wall Street Journal as well. She worked at Facebook for a couple of years and she left. And she said the problem with Facebook is that they have two problems. Number one, they want to make money. And number two, they want to be ethical. And it's tough to be both. And so Facebook went down earlier this week, as you all know, as did all other Facebook properties like Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. And 40% of people on this planet use at least one Facebook product every single month. It's crazy. And they said it was because of engineering issues. I think somebody hacked them. It's just too coincidental. Yeah. Okay. And then MT said, actually, I want to basically enjoy the millionaire life at a young age. Is there any way to do that? Yeah. Well, I would say some of the most successful and wealthy people are ones that are very cheap. There are a lot of people that are millionaires, you just don't realize they are. And that's why they're millionaires. And that's why a lot of billionaires, they pay less in taxes than all of us do percent-wise. Because they're cheap. Jeff Bezos, for example, didn't pay any tax in 2007. And he also, this is crazy, I don't think he should have done this, but he also claimed $4,000 for each of his 4 kids as dependents on his tax return. Yeah. And the tax code has to change in America. And you can do a search, go to my website, harounventures.com, on taxes. I did a big vlog on this recently. But they became billionaires for a reason, because they're cheap. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he bought in Omaha, Nebraska. Back in the 1950s. The founder of IKEA, he still drives a beat up old station wagon and he has shoes with holes in them and his office bag is a plastic bag. There's a lot of rich people out there that are quietly millionaires. And last thing I'll say is I recommend reading this great book I read in Canada when I was a kid called The Millionaire Next Door. Okay? And also read one called The Wealthy Barber, about a barber that's worth millions and why. Next up, Amit wrote, I'm from India, and I'm a commerce graduate now looking for a career in finance. Should I join a company or first do an MBA? Yeah. So I would, I would do whatever you can do to join a company without having to pay a ridiculous amount for an MBA. Or you can take mine, do it part-time on the side. Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah. But I don't think a traditional MBA is really going to be that respected in the future. In fact, I think only 50 universities are going to survive by the time I pass away in 8 million years. So what's going to happen is people are going to start to realize, my goodness, why do I have to spend all this money and have a lot of debt and it doesn't get me the job I want? Unless you're a doctor, that's cool, right? Go to medical school for that. But I think there's going to be a lot of universities are going to go bankrupt. There's going to be a Hail Mary pass at one point where a lot of the universities call their alumni, they deplete their entire endowment. They raise some money from alumni, and they still can't make it. And I think in the future, people are only going to go and spend a ridiculous amount of money at schools if it's a great brand name, like an Oxford or Cambridge, whatever. And by the way, if you know people go to those schools, these great schools, a lot of times it's because their parents donated a lot of money. It's bullshit. Or it's because they had maybe an aunt, uncle, brother, mother, whatever it is, a father that went to that school as well. It's rigged. It's a caste system and it's not fair. And it is changing. Okay. Next up, Sadiq wrote, thanks, Chris. I failed in 2 businesses in the past. I don't regret it. And I've learned a lot more than what anyone could have taught me. I'm willing to fail. And I'm definitely going to do as you said. Awesome. Good for you. Good for you. And we have to realize that all these people that are very successful in life, we only hear of them because they're successful, but we haven't heard about their failures. There's so many of them. Bill Gates' first business he started was called Trafo Data, which, when you're driving on the road and you drive over those wires, it counts cars. He had something like that. It failed miserably. So many people have failed. And I haven't done this one in a while. I failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. Michael Jordan said that, right? Everybody that's made it big has failed a ton, but they have one thing in common. They don't give a damn what anybody thinks of them. They march to the beat of their own drum. They make mistakes, and they know you only have to be right in business one time. Yeah. And it's therapeutic to say that as well. I don't give a damn what people think of me. Try it. Here's your homework. You have to complete this exercise 10 times. I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to write down this. I don't care what people think about an X. Do that 10 times. I don't care what people think about my career. I don't care what people think about the way I look. I just don't care. I'm going to be me. This is my life. And I'm going to chase my passion. And I don't care if I fail. Because I'm going to fail over and over and over again. Because I know in business you only have to be right one time. I don't care. It's therapeutic. Try it. Okay. It looks like we have a lot of questions today. I won't be able to show that options thing today. Maybe I'll save that for next week. All right. Next up, Nawazish wrote, hey, Chris, I'm making something on tax auditing. Okay, cool. Okay. And if you provided a link, I unfortunately I can't see it here. But if there's a question, let me know, please. Okay, Sadiq wrote, thanks again, Chris, for all your efforts and help. Steve Jobs is one of the people I really admire. Yeah, God bless him. Yeah. And he had that one little video clip that it changed me. And it really inspired my students when I used to teach in universities during the evenings. And so what I did was I licensed it from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. I have to look here at the name of it because I said once I licensed it from Steve Jobs' family, and they contacted me and said, no, you have to say this. So I licensed it from the Silicon Valley Historical Association, and I end all of my weekly calls with that. Yeah, and nobody is smarter than you. Julian said, thanks a lot. You're most welcome, brother. I miss you. I miss you, man. Hope you're doing well. Okay. John X said, hey, Chris, I'm a second-year computer science student. Any advice? Yeah. I would say that the only way to make it big in comp sci is if you thoroughly enjoy it. And so there are tons of programming languages you can use. Don't ever memorize stuff. Understand it. And get a hold on for dear life, onto the technology or programming language you're most passionate about. Because if you're really passionate about it, you'll do well. Because the difference between an average computer science engineer and a great one is 10x in performance. And those that perform best are the ones that are most passionate about what they do. So find your passion, your programming passion. Okay. And then Christina said, Christian is going to, her husband, Christina's husband, Christian, is going to take the one-on-one Zoom time slot with you today at 3:10 since I'm picking up Isabella from school. Awesome. Cool. And I want to talk to Christian about God of War as well, that video game. Yeah. Christian works at Sony. Yeah. PlayStation. All right. Next up, Famukafi wrote, just want to say, Chris, you have the best crypto course on Udemy. Recently, I finished it. It's amazing knowledge. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. And we just updated as well. Thank you. Appreciate that. That was fun to make. And that took me 6 months to make it, day and night. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's fun because when one teaches, two learn. Next up, MT wrote, what do you think, which computer language will be most famous in the future? I don't think you can go wrong learning Python right now. I don't. Yeah. And if you learn Python and a new language comes up that's more relevant, the fact that you know Python will help you learn that other language as well. As long as you understand how object-oriented programming works, so to speak, and how to create independent variables, call them, and use code to be able to kind of think from a black box perspective, setting up like an API, right? And you make these little modules, so to speak, so you feed in different parameters, different variables, and output comes out of it. It's all similar, like if-then statements, case statements, etc. Yeah. Once you learn one, the rest of it gets easy. Yeah. All right. Next up, Amit wrote, what people think about me and possibilities of my dreams is none of my business. Oh, I love it. I love it. And Les Brown, I believe, once said, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Or as Dr. Seuss said, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Yeah. All right. And then Famukavi, and if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name, please tell me, because I want to be respectful. The question is, I just want your thoughts on XRP Ripple and the SEC situation. Yeah, I can't really comment on that, partially because I don't really understand the full extent of it. But what I will say is that in my crypto course, I teach you 49 steps for analyzing companies. Yeah. But I still own Ripple, and I didn't sell it when it happened. Yeah. I always look at risk reward, right, when it comes to investments. Here's the risk, which is downside. Here's the upside. Reward's got to be greater than risk. Yeah, I still own it. All right, next question is, how big is your house? That's how we say it in Canadian. Hoose. Hoose. Oh, it's good enough. It's what I need. Yeah. My hoose. Americans on the call, it's not house, okay? It's hoose. And the top of our house is called a roof, okay? And we say process, not process, okay? And we say about, not about. English was created in Canada, yeah. All right. Next up, I got Nawazish, who wrote, sorry, it's a typo. Are you making something on tax auditing, or how do you plan to and file taxes, individual and corporate? I talk about that in my MBA program a lot. When it comes to your own taxes, don't ever do it yourself, okay? Unless you're a CPA or a CA in Canada, certified professional accountant. Don't do it, because what happens is this, and don't use tax software either. They're never up to date. Because what happens is every year the tax code changes, right? Somehow it does in every country. And these accountants, their job is to pay attention to the tax code to make sure, number one, you don't get in trouble when file taxing. Number two, how to take advantage of the new tax code and pay less in tax. And so I think it makes sense to always have an accountant. Okay, don't do it yourself. And if you have your own business like I do, try your best to see if you can find somebody that can do your personal taxes and your business taxes as well, just to make sure that you don't get in trouble. Yeah. And if you're not sure what to do and you have your own business, get 2 credit cards. I know I mentioned I have only 1 credit card, but hear me out. 2 credit cards. One is personal, one is business. Right? It doesn't cost you more money to get another credit card, usually. And what you do is, if you think it's business, for sure, put it on the business card. And if you're confident, all right, guys, that's Guardians of the Galaxy. Scare the crap out of me. I don't want to get a copyright violation, but it's 11 a.m. I got to wrap up this call. If you have additional questions, please save them and copy them and paste them again next week. Please like and subscribe and all that great stuff, only if this was helpful. I'll see you every day at 8 a.m. my time, which is when my daily vlogs drop, yo. And if you're in my gold and platinum program, I'll see you in 15 minutes during our weekly, for MBA students only, office hours. If you're in my platinum program and I have one-on-ones with you, I'll see you this afternoon. I think I've got slots between 1:30 and 3:30 today. If not, God bless you all. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and all that great stuff. And I'll see you next Thursday and every Thursday forever at 8 a.m. Thank you. God bless you. Take care. Thanks.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.